I wasn't ready to think too hard about what that meant. All I knew was, I liked being around her. And I wasn't about to let no man take that away. After Beyoncé catches her husband cheating, she crosses paths with Nicki, who's also trying to move on from a toxic relationship. As their friendship turns into something more, both women face their pasts and fears of getting hurt again. Can they trust each other enough to make it work, or will their exes ruin everything? I stood there, staring down at the box in my hands, my heart beating louder than I cared to admit. It was small, wrapped in simple brown paper, but something about it felt off.
The return address wasn't familiar.
I couldn't remember ordering anything that came from this boutique. A boutique I had never heard of. I wasn't the type to snoop, not really. But there was this nagging feeling in my chest, like something I'd been trying to ignore had suddenly decided to scream for attention. Jay had been acting different. More distant, more distracted. I told myself it was just stress, the pressures of work. I didn't want to read too much into things. But the longer this feeling had been lingering, the harder it was to shake.
My fingers trembled slightly as I peeled back the tape.
The familiar floral scent of perfume hit me before I even pulled the tissue paper away. It was expensive. Not the kind of perfume I'd buy for myself. I didn't recognize the brand, and I knew Jay didn't usually splurge on things like that for me. Not that I needed him to, but it felt like this wasn't for me. I swallowed hard, trying to calm the sudden rise of panic that clutched at my chest. I heard the front door creak open, and I froze. Jay. He was home. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I just stood there, holding the box, staring at the perfume, and then back at the door.
What if I'm overthinking this?
I thought.
Maybe it's nothing.
But deep down, I knew better. My gut told me otherwise. Jay walked in, his usual carefree smile already on his face. He tossed his gym bag by the door and pulled out his phone, scrolling as he made his way into the kitchen. He didn't even notice the box in my hands at first. "Hey babe," he called over his shoulder, his voice that smooth, easy tone that always had the power to put me at ease. I didn't know how to answer. I felt like I was drowning in the quiet, unsure of what to say next. The perfume was still in my hands, and now that he was here, I couldn't hide it anymore. The thing is, I didn't want to hide it. I wasn't going to let it slide. I needed to know, even if it hurt.
Was es vor?
I finally asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My fingers clenched the box tighter, the edges pressing into my palm. He turned around, raising an eyebrow, and glanced at the box. His smile faltered, just for a second, but it was enough for me to notice. He recovered quickly, his usual smoothness slipping back into place. "It's for a client," he said, walking over to the counter and grabbing a bottle of water. He didn't even look me in the eye. She wanted something personal, so I just picked it up for her. I felt my stomach drop. A client? His words hung in the air between us, but I didn't buy it. I knew Jay. We had been through too much together for him to think he could pull something like this without me noticing. There was a hesitation in his voice that didn't match his words, something I couldn't quite put my finger on, but it was there.
I set the box down on the counter, my hands shaking as I made his gaze. You're lying.
Jay's expression shifted, just enough for me to catch it. He shifted his weight, glancing away quickly. But he didn't say anything right away, which made my heart race faster. He was avoiding it. "You're overreacting," he said, finally turning back to me, a little too nonchalant. "It's not a big deal. It's just a gift. Relax."
I shook my head, the frustration bubbling up inside me.
Relax? How could I? Every part of me was screaming at me that something was wrong. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't going to sit here and pretend like I didn't know what was going on.
"No,"
I said, my voice low but firm. "I'm done relaxing.
I'm done pretending."
Jay's face hardened, and he took a step forward. "You don't know what you're talking about," he muttered, his voice getting tight. I took a step back, shaking my head. "No, Jay.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
This isn't the first time I've caught you in a lie. And I'm tired of it." For a moment, I almost thought he would apologize or try to smooth things over, the way he always did. But there was nothing.
Just silence.
The air in the room was thick, suffocating. Beyoncé, come on, he said, frustration creeping into his voice. You're blowing this out of proportion. It's just a perfume. Let it go. I could feel the tears starting to sting at the corners of my eyes, but I blinked them away. No.
I won't CY over this.
Not this time. I'm done, I said, my voice trembling but sure.
I can't do this anymore. Not with you.
Jay's expression shifted from annoyance to something like disbelief. He opened his mouth to say something, maybe apologize or try to explain, but the words never came. Instead, he just stared at me, silent. His face fell, and for a second, I almost thought he was about to break down. But that wasn't how Jay worked. He wasn't going to be the one to admit he was wrong. I turned away before he could say anything else. I couldn't do it. I couldn't stand there any longer, listening to him try to twist everything. The pain in my chest was suffocating, but the relief I felt from saying the words out loud, I'm done, was sharper.
Like a breath of fresh air after holding my breath for too long. I walked away without looking back.
I couldn't sleep. It was past midnight, and the apartment was still, except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. My mind was racing no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't quiet the thoughts. The smell of that damn perfume still clung to the air, suffocating me, reminding me of everything that had happened. I wasn't angry, not yet. Not really. But there was this numbness in me. A hollow, aching kind of numbness that settled deep in my chest and wouldn't let go. It was like I couldn't fully grasp the weight of what had just happened. I'm finally walking away. I'd finally told him I was done. And yet, here I was, feeling more lost than ever. The bed next to me was empty.
Jay hadn't come home yet.
It wasn't that late, but I wasn't surprised. He had a game tomorrow, and his usual post-game celebration was more important than anything else. That's what I told myself, anyway. As if I hadn't known for months now that the man I thought I knew was slipping away. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, fingers brushing across the smooth surface before I picked it up, unlocking the screen. I scrolled through my contacts, pausing when I saw his name.
I shook my head, feeling the tears welling up again.
Get it together, I told myself. I wasn't going to fall apart again. I had done that too many times already.
The phone rang twice before I hit end.
No need to talk to him. Not tonight. Instead, I opened a text thread with one of my closest friends, Rihanna. She always knew what to say, even when I didn't. I typed a message quickly, my thumbs moving faster than my thoughts. I'm done, Rhi. I am finally going to leave him. I don't even know how to feel right now. But I know it's the right thing. I stared at the screen for a second before hitting send. Almost immediately, the dots appeared, then a response came through. I'm proud of you, bae. I know it's hard, but you're strong. You'll be okay, I promise. You know I'll always have your back. I smiled softly, feeling a little bit lighter. Rihanna had always been there for me, even when I didn't deserve it. I needed her now more than ever. But I also knew there were things I couldn't share with her. There were too many things I was still holding back. I placed the phone down and stared at the ceiling, the silence between me and Jay stretching further than ever. My thoughts drifted back to the night we first met. Everything had seemed so perfect back then. But now? Now, I could see the cracks.
I could see the manipulation, the lies.
And I could see myself, always making excuses for him.
Always second-guessing my words.
But not anymore. Just as I thought I might finally fall asleep, the door to the apartment creaked open. I didn't turn my head, didn't even sit up. I knew it was him. I could hear the familiar sounds of his heavy footsteps, the shuffle of his shoes on the floor. The way he tried to move quietly, like I wouldn't notice him. He was trying to sneak in, just like he had so many times before. But it didn't matter anymore. I heard him stop in the doorway to the bedroom, probably staring at me, waiting for me to say something. Beyoncé, he called softly, but his voice wasn't warm. It was distant, like he didn't quite know what to say, but he felt the need to say something anyway. I didn't respond. I couldn't. After a moment of silence, he stepped closer, his figure emerging in the dim light from the hallway. I could barely make out his face, But I didn't need to. His presence alone told me everything. He had the same look in his eyes, like he thought he was still in control. Like I was still the one who would fold. He didn't sit down beside me. Instead, he lingered at the edge of the bed, hands in his pockets, head tilted slightly. Are you gonna talk to me, or are we doing this silent treatment thing again? I finally looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel anything. No anger. No sadness.
Just nothing.
Just an empty space between us that felt too heavy to cross. You're not sorry, I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper, but the words landed like a punch. He blinked, his brow furrowing in confusion. What are you talking about? I'm talking about you, Jay, I said, sitting up slowly. You don't get to do this.
You don't get to hurt ML and ten act like nothing happened.
Like I'm supposed to just forgive you because you say sorry. I'm tired. I'm tired of pretending everything is fine when it's not. He opened his mouth, no doubt to argue, but I cut him off before he could speak.
No.
Just stop. You had your chance. I'm done, I said, my voice firmer this time. I wasn't going to let him manipulate me. Not again. Jay's eyes flickered with something close to annoyance, but then he sighed, running a hand through his hair.
You're being dramatic.
I told you, it's not what you think.
I shook my head.
You're always saying that.
It's not what you think.
But I know exactly what it is. You think you can do whatever you want, and I'll just forgive you. Well, I'm done being your doormat. There was a long pause. Jay didn't say anything, and I didn't want him to. His silence said it all. He was too proud to admit he was wrong, too selfish to understand that I couldn't keep doing this. I wasn't going to spend another second in a relationship that made me feel small. I'm leaving, seriously, I said, my voice steady now. Jay didn't try to stop me. He didn't even argue. He just stood there, staring at me, like I was some kind of stranger. I gathered a few things from my side of the closet, packed them into a bag, and walked out the door without looking back. I sat in my car, staring at the dashboard as the weight of everything settled around me. It felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. The apartment that Jay and I shared felt foreign now, empty in a way that was almost suffocating. I had packed a bag of what I could grab, knowing that I couldn't stay another minute in that place. Jay was an NFL player and I was a business owner, which meant we had more homes than I could count. I wasn't sure where to go next, but the one thing I was sure about was that I couldn't stay in that house. I couldn't stay in that life. So, I was driving to my own apartment, the one I'd kept after starting Seeked, my business. It wasn't much like our usual places, just a small space that felt like home, a place where I could breathe without the weight of lies hanging over me. I didn't know what was coming next. I didn't know if I was even ready for this, but what I did know was that I couldn't keep pretending things were okay. Not after everything I'd found out. My phone buzzed in my lap, pulling me out of my thoughts. Gee. I didn't want to pick up. I already knew what he'd say, what he always said when things got bad. The same manipulative words, the same excuses. But I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't avoid it any longer. I took a deep breath and swiped to answer. Hello. His voice was low, calm, as though everything was normal. Beyoncé, we need to talk. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I don't think there's anything left to talk about, Jay. You can't just walk away like this, he said, the edge of desperation creeping into his voice. I didn't mean for things to go this far.
It's not what you think.
I saw it, Jay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I know what happened. There was a pause on the other end. I could hear the faint sound of him shifting in his chair, like he was trying to find the right words. But I wasn't interested in his words anymore. You're overreacting, he said, his tone condescending. You don't have all the facts. You don't know the whole story. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to keep my composure. I was tired of his excuses. I knew the whole story. It's the same story as the times before when I caught him cheating, only thing different was the girl. I didn't need him to tell me anything else. I don't need to know anything else, I said firmly. I don't need to keep asking myself why I'm constantly being lied to. You're being emotional, Bae, he said, a familiar tone creeping into his voice. You've always been emotional. But that's not what this is about.
You know I love you.
You know I didn't mean to hurt you. His words stung, but not in the way they used to. They didn't have the power they once did. You didn't mean to hurt me? You didn't mean to cheat on me? You didn't mean to lie to me for months. I didn't mean for any of it to happen, I swear, he said, his voice now taking on that pleading tone I hated. But I love you, bae.
You're my world.
I gripped the steering wheel, trying to steady my shaking hands.
You don't love me, Jay.
Not if you can do this to me.
Tere was sie längse.
He didn't respond, and that silence spoke volumes.
You don't get it, do you?
I continued, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. You never really saw me.
Not the real me. Just the version you wanted.
You're wrong, he said quickly, almost desperate. You're not thinking straight. I know I messed up. But I'm sorry. I'll do anything to make it right. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't keep doing this. I couldn't keep going in circles, always hoping he'd change. I'm done, Jay, I said, the words feeling both like a weight lifted and a hammer coming down. I'm done trying to fix this. I'm done. I don't want you to go, he said quietly, his voice small, almost breaking. But there was nothing left to say. Nothing more he could say that would make it okay. It's too late, I whispered, my voice barely audible.
I'm leaving.
And I'm not coming back. I could feel the tears threatening to fall, but I refused to let them. Not yet. Not while I was still in the phone, still holding on to some semblance of control.
I hung ab withut another word, letting the längse settle around me.
I'd just ended everything, my whole life, it felt like. But this was for the best. I kept telling myself that. The drive to my apartment felt endless. My thoughts were racing, all over the place. I didn't know what came next, but I couldn't stay in that place with him anymore. Not with the lies, not with the manipulation, not with the shattered pieces of my heart scattered everywhere. I parked in front of my apartment building, taking another deep breath before stepping out of the car.
My phone buzzed again. Another text from Rihanna. Call ML when you get a chance.
I couldn't bring myself to respond yet. I needed to take a moment, to breathe. I needed space. I needed to figure out who I was now that I wasn't someone's girlfriend, someone's backup. As I walked into my apartment, I realized just how much I had been drowning in that relationship. It was time to swim on my own, even if it meant doing it in the quiet, in the dark, where no one could see. I'd made it this far. I'd be okay. I sat at the dining table in my apartment, staring down at my untouched bowl of oatmeal. The steam had long faded, and the spoon sat awkwardly on the rim. I'd been sitting there for over an hour, but my stomach felt too knotted to even think about eating. My phone sat face down on the table, buzzing occasionally. A few missed calls from Jay. I didn't have the energy to listen to his voicemails or read his texts. I already knew what they would say. I didn't need another apology. I didn't need another promise he wouldn't keep. I let out a slow breath and pressed my palms into my temples, trying to ease the dull ache that had been building since last night. My eyes were still puffy from crying, my face swollen with the evidence of everything I had let out the moment I walked through the door.
The screams into my pillow.
The way I crumbled to the floor, holding my chest because it felt like my heart was actually breaking. Now, I just felt empty. I glanced at my phone again, debating if I should call my mom, my sister or RIH. But I couldn't bring myself to call anyone. The thought of having to explain it out loud made my throat tighten. Instead, I swiped over to my recent searches and stared at the last thing I'd typed, divorce lawyers in Houston. I hadn't even realized I was crying when I typed it. My vision had blurred with tears, the screen foggy and streaked. My fingers had trembled, but I'd kept typing anyway. I knew I had to do it. I just didn't know if I was ready to face it yet. But now, sitting in the stillness of my apartment, I knew. It was time. I unlocked my phone and scrolled through the results until I landed on one that looked promising. The name didn't matter. The website didn't matter. I just needed someone, anyone to help me close this chapter. I pressed the number and held my breath as the line rang. Good morning, this is Walker and Price Law Firm. How can I help you? I froze.
My voice caught in my throat.
For a split second, I considered hanging up. But then I closed my eyes and forced the words out before I could stop myself.
Hi,
I'm calling to schedule a consultation.
For a divorce.
My voice cracked on the last word, but I didn't care. Of course, the woman said kindly. She spoke slowly, her tone professional but gentle. We can set up an initial meeting with one of our attorneys. Would you prefer a phone or in-person consultation? I cleared my throat, forcing my voice steady. In person. Please. Got it. Let me check our availability. I could hear the sound of typing on her end.
My fingers clenched the edge of the table as I stared out the window, waiting.
I could see the neighbor across the street, a man carrying a little girl on his shoulders while she giggled and tugged on his cap. The kind of image that once would have made me smile. Now, it just made my chest ache. We have an opening tomorrow morning at 10. Does that work for you? Yeah, I said quietly. That's fine. I barely registered the rest of the conversation, my name, the details about the location, the documents I needed to bring. I just mumbled out confirmations and thanked her before ending the call. I set my phone down and stared at it, blinking slowly. My ears were ringing slightly, my heart pounding so loudly in my chest it was all I could hear. I was really doing this. I was ending my marriage. My throat tightened again, and I swallowed hard. I needed air. I went upstairs and got dressed in my favorite sweatsuit, pulled my hair back into a messy bun and threw on some shades before heading back downstairs. I grabbed my keys from the counter and slipped into my shoes before walking outside. The morning breeze was light but cool against my skin.
I crossed my arms over my chest, holding myself.
I didn't go far, just a short walk down the block. I wasn't ready to face the world yet, but I needed to be out of that apartment, even if only for a few minutes.
My eyes kept drifting to the sidewalk beneath my feet, tracing the cracks and the scattered leaves.
The world kept moving around me, cars passing by, people walking with purpose. And there I was, walking aimlessly, just trying to breathe. I slowed my steps when I passed a small coffee shop I'd always liked but never had time for. On impulse, I walked in, letting the scent of roasted beans and cinnamon wash over me. It was warmer inside, cozier. I hadn't realized how cold I was until I felt the contrast. The line was short, and before I knew it, I was ordering.
A caramel latte, please.
I paid without really thinking, barely registering the cashier's smile. I just took my drink and sat by the window, watching the people pass by. As I sipped, I let the warmth settle in my chest. It didn't fix anything. It didn't make the weight any lighter. But it was something, some small comfort, some moment of stillness. I stared out the window and thought about everything. About how I had spent years shrinking myself to fit into Jay's world. How I had been so afraid to lose him that I had lost pieces of myself instead. But now, I was done shrinking. I glanced at my phone and pulled up the lawyer's number.
I saved it not es voker und Preis. Just divorce.
Simple.
Final.
I took another sip of my coffee and stared out at the sun-drenched sidewalk. The world outside kept moving. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe I could too. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, scrolling through my phone, when I heard the door slam. Loud.
The kind of slam that made the walls shake a little.
I didn't even flinch. I was used to it. I just kept scrolling, my thumb dragging over the same 3 apps I had no real interest in. I wasn't looking at shit, just killing time. Footsteps thudded down the hallway, heavy and slow, like he had all the time in the world. I didn't bother looking up when he walked into the bedroom. I already knew what he was gon' say.
Same shit, different day.
Meek stood in the doorway, one hand tucked in the pocket of his sagging jeans, the other dragging his keys across the dresser. He was trying to act all casual, like he didn't just come strolling in here at damn near noon. Like I hadn't been blowing up his phone all morning. He scratched at his scruffy jaw and muttered, "Damn, you always got a attitude." I finally glanced up from my phone, squinting at him. My voice came out low and flat.
Where the fuck you been?
He sucked his teeth and waved me off like I was blowing something out of proportion.
Chill, Mann.
I was at the stew.
Walking. I let out a short, humorless laugh and shook my head. Walking.
I repeated, mocking him.
You mean sitting on somebody couch, smoking weed and begging niggers to put you on a track? That's walking now.
He rolled his eyes and started undressing, pulling his shirt over his head and kicking his sneakers off, leaving them right in the middle of the floor. He didn't even look at me when he mumbled, "You always trying to tear a nigger down. Damn. Why you can't just support me?"
My eyes narrowed.
I slowly set my phone down on the nightstand and stood up. My chest was already tight.
Support you?
I been supporting you. For 2 years. 2. 2 nigger, my voice cracked, but I didn't care. Paying the bills, putting gas in my car, buying used clothes and hygiene products, keeping the lights on, making sure we have food to eat. You know, all the shit you supposed to be helping with. But nah, you too busy chasing some fake-ass rap career that ain't going nowhere. He shot me a glare, his lips pulling back into that cocky lil smirk he did when he wanted to piss me off. "Oh, so now you got jokes," he mumbled, stepping towards me.
You don't believe in me, who?
I huffed and crossed my arms.
Nigger, you don't believe in you.
If you did, you'd be in somebody's studio paying for real studio time instead of waiting on handouts. I could see the heat flash in his eyes, but I didn't care. I was too mad to care. Tired of holding everything together while he just floated through life, like it was enough to have a dream and no plan. He walked past me and plopped down on the bed, leaning back on his elbows. Like we wasn't just arguing. Like this was just regular. He tapped his phone, mumbling under his breath, "Yeah right.
You just laugh taken, shit.
But when I blow up, you gon' be looking dumb as hell." I spun around, eyes wide.
I felt my fingers curl into fists at my sides. Blow up. I yelled, my voice going sharp.
You can't even pay your half of the rent. I smacked my hand against my chest. You walking around wearing clothes I bought. Driving my car.
Leaving me on like you got gas money.
I'm the only one putting in here, and you walking around like you made it already. He sat up then, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, squinting at me. "Man, stop acting like you the only one struggling, that I'm trying to make it for us. You knew what it was when we got together." I laughed again, but this time it came out bitter, my voice scratchy from holding so much in. "You right," I said, my voice low, eyes locked on his. I knew what it was. I just didn't know it was gon' be this. He shook his head, saying something under his breath, then fell back against the mattress like he was bored of me already. I stared at him for a long second, feeling my throat tighten. I didn't even know what I was holding onto anymore. I knew I didn't love him. I loved who he used to be, the nigger who showed up with flowers 'cause he knew I had a hard day. The one who would sit up on the phone with me until I fell asleep. That man? He was gone. Now, all I had was this dead weight sitting on my bed, acting like he was doing me a favor by being here. I wiped at my eyes quick before the tears could fall.
You know what? I whispered, my voice barely up over a breath. I can't do this shit no more.
He sat up again, frowning. "Man, you just talking," he said, dismissive, shaking his head like he didn't believe me. "No," I snapped, my voice shaking. "I'm done." I turned toward the closet and started grabbing his shit hoodies, jeans, sneakers.
I snatched down and tossed into a pile on the floor.
"The fuck is you doing?" he barked, standing up. I didn't answer. I just kept throwing his shit into the pile, barely able to see through the tears in my eyes. "Nikki, chill out." He grabbed my wrist, trying to stop me, but I yanked it away.
"Get the fuck out." I screamed, my voice cracking so loud it hurt. "Get the fuck out of my house, out my life. Out." He stared at me, chest heaving, his face twisted with anger and shock. Like he couldn't believe I was really doing this. I pointed toward the door, my hand shaken. "Take your bum as music and your bum as dreams and go." He opened his mouth like he was going to say something, but then he shut it. His jaw flexed, and his nostrils flared. He snatched his jeans and started pulling them on, yanking on his sneakers with jerky, frustrated movements. "You gon' regret this shit," he muttered under his breath. Watch.
I stood there, arms crossed, watching him pack up his shit. My body was still shaking, but I wasn't gonna let him see me break. I just clenched my teeth and stared him down. He stopped at the door, turning back with a sneer.
Don't call ml wen you need so meten. Bet you gone miss ml wen I'm gone.
I met his eyes, my face blank. My voice came out low and sharp.
Nigga, I been missing you.
You just been too broke and too blind to notice. He stared at me for a second longer, like he wanted to say something else. But he didn't. He just turned around and slammed the door behind him. As soon as I heard it click shut, my knees buckled, and I sank down onto the bed. My chest was still tight, my throat sore from yelling. My hands were shaking, my breath coming out in quick, shallow bursts. I sat there for a long time, listening to the dead silence in the apartment.
No footsteps. No mumbling.
No excuses. Just me. And I wasn't even sad. Not really. I was just done. I wiped at my face, grabbing my phone with trembling hands. I opened my contacts, scrolled right past his name, and deleted it. Then I turned the phone off, dropped it on the nightstand, and laid back on the bed, staring up at the ceiling. The weight was already starting to lift. I woke up with a dull ache behind my eyes and a tightness in my chest that had nothing to do with sleep. The sun was barely creeping through the blinds, but I was already wide awake, staring at the ceiling. My throat was raw from all the yelling last night, and my head still felt heavy from the stress. I blinked a few times, trying to let my eyes adjust, but I could feel it, the weight. That thick, sticky sadness that clung to my skin, reminding me of every wasted year I spent with Meek. I turned over and grabbed my phone off the nightstand, squinting at the screen. Missed calls. 8 of them. All from him. I exhaled hard through my nose, swiping away the notifications. The sight of his name on my screen made my stomach turn. My hand ached from how hard I hit him last night, but it still didn't feel like I hit him hard enough. Just as I was about to put the phone back down, it started buzzing again. Meek. I let it ring, watching the screen like it was gonna catch fire. My thumb hovered over the button for a second before I finally answered.
Hello, I mumbled, voice flat.
Man, so that's what we doing now? He spat, not even bothering to say hi.
You blocking me, Nikki for real.
I sat up in bed, staring at the wall, trying to keep my voice steady.
I ain't block you. I just don't wanna talk to you.
That's the same thing, he shot back.
You met over some petty shit.
You was buggin' last night.
I laukhet DRYLY.
I couldn't even help it. I was buggin'.
Nah.
What's bugging is me paying all the bills while you run around playin' 'bout your lil rap dream, hoping one day you gon' blow up, but you can't even keep no damn gas in my car. My voice cracked slightly, but I didn't care.
You out here walking around like you so meeting wen you ain't doing shit but stressin' the fuck out. Man, come on.
You knew what it was when you got with me.
You knee I was trüner.
Trina what? Meek. I snapped, cutting him off.
I swung my legs over the bed and put my feet on the cold floor, needing to feel so meeting solid beneath me.
Trina what? Sit on yo ass while I break my back payin' for every fucking thing? You tryna make it, but it's been years nigga. Years. You still at the same open mics and free ass showcases, and I'm the one driving you there in MY car on MY gas.
Nah.
I'm good on that.
Yo, WHY you talking down on ME?
That's crazy, he muttered, voice low and heated. You supposed to hold me down. Ain't that what you said?
Now you switchin' up. I shook my head, feeling my chest tighten again.
I stood up, pacing a little, trying to keep the tears from coming. I was too tired to cry. Nah, I said quietly, pausing by the window.
I did hold you down. That's the thing.
You just kept dragging me down with you. There was a long pause. He didn't have shit to say, and I could feel his silence heavy through the phone. I'm done, Meek, I whispered, my voice barely above a breath.
For real this time.
Nick. I didn't wait for him to finish. I hung up. For a moment, I just stood there, phone still in my hand, staring out the window. The city was already awake, cars crawling down the streets, people rushing to work, going on with their day. The world was still moving, but I felt still. Empty. I tossed my phone on the bed and made my way to the bathroom, peeling off my tank top and shorts. When I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, I almost didn't recognize the girl staring back. My eyes were red, and my face was puffy, skin blotchy from all the yelling and crying. I turned on the water and stepped into the shower, standing under the stream, letting the heat beat down on me. I closed my eyes and pressed my forehead against the tile, feeling the tightness in my chest slowly ease. By the time I got out, I felt lighter. Not happy, just lighter. Like I could finally breathe a little easier. I wrapped myself in a towel and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone. I knew I needed to talk to somebody, but I didn't feel like going through the whole "girl, I told you he wasn't shit" speech. Still, I typed out a quick text to Candy. Yo. You up? The typing bubbles popped up immediately.
Candy, I'm always up. What's good? I'm done with make. For real this time.
Her response came so fast it made me laugh a little. Candy, AYEE finally. Girl, me and Lauren was about to give ya asshole intervention. I smirked and shook my head, dropping my phone on the bed. Finally. That was the word. It really was finally over.
No more back and forth.
No more hoping he'd change. No more carrying him while he weighed me down. I got dressed in an oversized tee and sweats, feeling too drained to put any effort into my appearance. I went to the kitchen and made a cup of coffee, sitting at the counter with my legs curled under me. I stared out the window, listening to the hum of the city. The silence didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt like peace.
Like freedom.
And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel lonely. I just felt free. I sat back in the plush pedicure chair, letting my head fall against the cushion as the warm water swirled around my feet. My phone was in my lap, face down, and for once, I wasn't in a rush to pick it up. No missed calls.
No bullshit texts.
No weak-ass excuses from Meek.
Just nothing.
And for the first time in a long time, that felt good. The nail salon was quiet, except for the low hum of R&B music playing in the background. Some old-school Faith Evans joint I hadn't heard in a minute. I stared out the window, watching the sunlight spill across the sidewalk. It was one of those perfect early spring afternoons, the kind where you didn't need a jacket but still felt the breeze.
I wiggled my toes a little, wetting the bubbles rise around them.
I could finally treat myself again. No more frontin' bills for Meek or stressing over his gas money. This was my money, going toward my peace. I took a slow sip of the mimosa they'd offered me, letting the cold, citrusy sweetness linger on my tongue.
My eyes lazily scanned the room.
Women scattered in different chairs, chatting and flipping through magazines. A couple of girls were taking selfies with their fresh sets, showing off glitter tips and rhinestones. But then my gaze landed on her. She was sitting in the corner by herself, staring at her hands like they weren't even hers. She wasn't getting her nails done, she was just sitting. Her posture was stiff, arms crossed loosely over her stomach, and her shoulders slumped like the weight of the world was sitting right on top of them. I squinted slightly, trying to get a better look at her. Long, honey blonde curls fell over her face, shielding it from view. She was dressed down. Black sweats and a loose black hoodie, but there was still something striking about her. Soft.
Elegant. Familiar. I tilted my head slightly, eyes narrowing.
Wait. Nah. I blinked twice, making sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. Was that Beyoncé?
I sat up a little straighter, my heart sheep-hipping just slightly.
I hadn't even noticed her when I walked in, but now that I was looking, it was her. I was sure of it. I'd seen her face on magazine covers, billboards and perfume ads, hair ads, red carpet and anything else celebrities did, but seeing her in person? She seemed smaller.
More delicate.
But it wasn't just her face that caught my attention, it was her expression. She looked broken. Like she wasn't really there. Her eyes were glassy and distant, and she kept rubbing her thumb over her ring finger.
I bit my lips lightly, wetting hair.
Something about her loneliness made my chest feel tight. I wasn't usually the type to walk up on random people, famous or not. But watching her sit there, looking so small and sad, it just didn't sit right with me.
I glanced at my phone. Fuck it.
I slid my feet out of the water, quickly patting them dry with the little white towel they gave me. I slipped on the flimsy spa sandals and made my way over, heart thudding just a little harder the closer I got. When I reached her, I hesitated for a second. Up close, she was even more beautiful. Her skin was flawless, but she looked tired like she hadn't slept in days. I cleared my throat softly. Hey. Her head snapped up slightly, and her eyes met mine. Damn. I hadn't even noticed how pretty her eyes were before. Warm brown, with just the tiniest hint of honey when the light hit them right. She blinked a couple of times, clearly surprised that I was talking to her. I smiled a little, trying to ease the tension. You good? Her lips parted slightly, but it took her a second to answer. When she finally did, her voice was so soft, I almost didn't hear it.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm fine, she mumbled.
I echt a brauslichtli. Lei.
I pulled out the chair across from her and plopped down without asking, crossing my legs. You sure? I pressed, giving her a look.
Cause you sittin' over here like somebody just stole your whole life savings.
Her eyes widened a little, caught off guard by how direct I was. I could tell she wasn't used to strangers being so forward. Her lips parted, and for a second, I thought she was gonna give me some PR smile and brush me off. But instead, she let out a small, humorless chuckle and shook her head.
Nah.
I've had a rough couple of days, she admitted softly.
I nodded slowly. Yeah, I feel that.
There was a pause. A quiet, comfortable one. She glanced at me again, her eyes searching mine like she was trying to figure out who the hell I was and why I was even talking to her. I'm Nikki, by the way, I said, sticking my hand out. Her lips curved into a small, polite smile as she slipped her hand into mine. Her grip was delicate, almost hesitant.
Beyoncé. I grinned a little. Yeah, I know.
Her cheeks flushed slightly, and she let out a soft, breathy laugh. I could see her shoulders ease just a little. Why you over here by yourself though? I asked, tilting my head.
Don't you got like a million homegirls who could be sittin' here talking your ear off right now?
She gave a weak smile, her eyes lowering. I needed some space. Some time to think. Her voice was soft and gentle, but I could hear the heaviness in it. She was hurt. Probably by some man. Probably by her man. I nodded slowly, leaning back a little. Yeah, well, you look like you've been thinking long enough. I gestured toward the empty table in front of her. You getting your nails done, or you just using this place for the free Wi-Fi? She let out a short, genuine laugh, her eyes crinkling slightly at the corners. And just like that, the sadness in her eyes dimmed just a little. I was thinking about it, she murmured, still smiling slightly. Well, come on, I teased, nodding toward the nail techs. Let's go pick out some colors. I'm trying to see if you still got taste or if you gone pick some weak-ass shade like white. A/N when it comes to toes, if it ain't white it ain't right. She smiled a little wider, her eyes softening. And for the first time since I sat down, she looked like she wasn't completely drowning in whatever had been weighing on her. Okay, she whispered. We stood up, walking toward the wall of colors. Her steps were slow and cautious, but she seemed lighter. Like maybe, just maybe, she was grateful I came over. And me? I didn't know what made me walk over to her that day. I didn't know why I felt so drawn to her. But when she smiled at me again, something in my chest fluttered, and I knew this wasn't just some random encounter. I didn't know what it was yet, but I knew it was something. I stared at the wall of nail polish bottles in front of me, my eyes moving over the rows of soft pinks and muted nudes without really seeing them. My hands were loosely tucked into the pocket of my hoodie, my fingers absent-mindedly running over the stitching. I should have been picking a color, but instead, my mind was floating somewhere else.
Summe wäre darker.
Jay's voice was still in my head. The things he said before I left. The way he tried to make me feel small. Weak. Like I was the problem. I blinked hard and forced out a slow breath, trying to push the thought away. I glanced at the row of deep reds and grabbed one off the shelf without even looking at the name. I didn't care. I just needed to keep moving, keep my mind from sinking back into that place. But then I heard her voice. I'm trying to see if you still got taste or if you gone pick something weak like baby pink. I turned, and there she was.
Nikki.
She was standing a few feet away, one hand on her hip, the other holding a bright yellow bottle like she was actually about to let them put it on her nails. She arched a brow at me, her mouth twitching into a teasing smirk. I didn't mean to smile, but I did. Just a little.
Yellow?
I asked softly, tilting my head slightly. She shrugged, biting her lip.
Yup. I'm feeling bold today.
She grinned a little, her voice playful.
But you? You tryna play it safe.
She flicked her chin toward the deep red in my hand. You look like you just grabbed the first one you saw. I glanced at the bottle in my hand, blinking slightly. She was right. I didn't even know what color it was. I turned it over in my palm, reading the label. Bloodline. Of course. I let out a weak chuckle, mostly at myself. I wasn't really paying attention, I admitted softly, shaking my head. Nikki's smirk softened into a smile, her eyes lingering on me a little longer than I expected. Her gaze wasn't heavy or invasive, it was warm. Curious. She set the yellow bottle back on the shelf and stepped a little closer, her voice lowering. You good? The question was simple. Gentle. But for some reason, it made my throat tighten.
I kult velit.
I almost did. I almost gave her a small, practiced smile and mumbled, yeah, I'm fine. But when I met her eyes, I couldn't. Something about the way she was looking at me made the words stick in my throat.
I slowly shook my head.
Not really, I whispered, my voice barely there. Her face softened, and without hesitating, she closed the gap between us. She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice.
You wanna talk about it or you tryna pretend it don't exist.
The corner of my mouth twitched faintly, despite the weight still sitting on my chest. I glanced at her, her eyes steady on mine, waiting. She wasn't pushing, just there. Present.
I licked my lips, exhaling softly. I don't know. I trailed off, my voice barely up over a whisper.
She stared at me for a second, then slowly nodded. Aight.
You don't gotta know.
You just gotta sit. I blinked at her, confused for a second. She grinned slightly. Come on, she said, grabbing the red polish from my hand and walking toward the front without waiting for me to answer. I just stood there for a second, watching her. I didn't know why, but something about the way she just took over felt oddly comforting. She didn't give me space to overthink or retreat, she just moved, like she already knew I needed it. Without a word, I slowly followed. A few minutes later, we were sitting side by side in two plush, oversized chairs, our feet resting in warm, bubbly water. The nail techs were quietly working on us, and I kept my eyes down, watching the woman gently buff the edge of my nail. The silence between me and Nikki was comfortable. It wasn't heavy or awkward. She didn't push me to talk. She just sat next to me, making little comments here and there about the music playing or the wild polish choices the girl across from us was making. Every now and then, she glanced over at me, giving me small smiles. Warm ones.
Reassuring honest.
And each time, I felt myself relax a little more. After a while, I let out a quiet breath and slowly turned to her. My voice was barely above a whisper. I just left my husband. The words hung there for a second. Saying them out loud felt heavier than I expected. Like they were real now. Nikki's feet, which had been lazily trailing through the water, stilled. She turned to me slightly, her eyes narrowing just a little. For good. I stared at the water swirling around my feet. My throat felt tight. I wasn't sure how to answer.
I let out a soft breath.
Don't know yet, but I think I am. It feels different this time, I admitted quietly. Her gaze lingered on me, but she didn't press. Instead, she just nodded slowly. But you left, she murmured, her voice firm. That's the part that matters right now. I turned to look at her, and when our eyes met, something about the way she was looking at me made my chest tighten. Her eyes were so sure, so steady, like she actually believed in me. The corner of her mouth lifted slightly, and she nudged me lightly with her elbow. That took balls, B, she added, her voice low but teasing.
Big ones. I let out a small bracy lauk truk my nose, lowering my head slightly.
My eyes burned a little, but I swallowed it back. Guess I'm stronger than I thought, I whispered softly, barely realizing I'd said it out loud. Nikki smiled at me again this time, a little wider.
Hell yeah, you are.
The conversation shifted after that. She didn't pry for details. She didn't ask who he was or what he did. She just kept talking, teasing me about my boring color choice, complaining about how long her nails were taking, and cracking jokes at the lady in the corner who had asked for glitter tips but was clearly regretting it. And somehow, through her playful banter and easy laughter, I felt the weight in my chest loosen just a little.
I found myself smiling more.
Actually laughing a few times. And the whole time, Nikki just sat there, giving me her attention, offering me this tiny, fleeting moment of normal when everything else in my life felt like it was falling apart. When we were done, we stood outside the nail salon for a minute, and I realized I didn't want to leave just yet. Nikki shoved her hands into the pockets of her hoodie and rocked back on her heels a little. You trying to grab something to eat? She asked, her tone casual.
I blinked slightly, caught off guard. Oh.
I hesitated, glancing down the street. She caught the uncertainty in my voice and grinned slightly. It's just food, B. You don't gotta marry me or nothin'. I let out a soft laugh, my chest feeling light for the first time in days. I nodded slightly. Okay. Her smile widened, and she started walking, jerking her head toward a little diner down the street. And without even thinking, I fell into step beside her. And just like that, we were walking. Two strangers with freshly painted nails and heavy hearts, heading toward some random diner. But somehow, it didn't feel random at all. She let out a humorless laugh, swirling the wine in her glass. Used my car more than me. Always disappearing then showing back up like nothing happened. I couldn't take that shit no more. I stared at her, feeling a pang in my chest. She'd mentioned Meek a few times before, but I didn't know it was like that. I opened my mouth to say something, but she cut me off with a shrug. Anyway, fuck him. She locked her phone and tossed it on the couch with more force than necessary. Candy smirked. So you're officially over?
Nickes eyes hardened slightly.
Hell yeah.
That nigger that to me.
Her words were firm, but I could see the way her fingers subtly twitched against the wine glass. Like she was still holding something in. I knew that feeling. Saying you were done with someone was one thing. Feeling it was another.
I placed my hand over hers. She glanced at me, a little caught off guard. I get it, I said softly.
She stared at me for a beat, then her features relaxed slightly. The corner of her mouth lifted. Yeah. I nodded. Without saying anything else, she leaned into me slightly, resting her head against my shoulder. My breath hitched, but I didn't move. I just sat there, letting her exhale quietly against me. The night went on, and we all eventually migrated to the floor, playing some wild drinking game Candy made up. I was tipsy by then, laughing more freely and answering the girls' bold questions without overthinking. When Lauren and Candy finally decided to call it a night, I was half sprawled on the couch with Nikki. We were both too comfortable to move. Wanna just crash here? She mumbled, her voice drowsy.
I hesitated.
You sure? She smirked slightly.
Girl, you already halfway sleep on me.
Just stay. I smiled and nodded. The peace didn't last long. A loud, impatient knock made us both jolt upright. Nikki blinked sleepily, her eyes narrowed in confusion. Then the knocking came again. This time harder, more aggressive.
Yo.
Open the door. A deep voice slurred from the hallway. Nikki's face went blank. She closed her eyes briefly and exhaled through her nose.
I know you lying.
She muttered under her breath before pushing herself off the couch.
I sat up, suddenly on edge.
Who is it? She didn't answer, just stormed toward the door. She pulled it open, and there he was. Meek. I'd never seen him before, but the moment I spotted his wild, bloodshot eyes and sagging jeans, I knew. He reeked of cheap liquor and desperation.
The fuck you doing here?
Nikki snapped, her voice low but venomous. Meek shoved his hand against the doorframe, leaning into the apartment.
Mann, quit playin' with me.
You really got me out here like this?
For real.
Nicky shoved his hand off the door.
Yeah, nigga. For real. You drunk, too? You lookin' real sorry right now.
Meek's eyes cut past her and landed on me. He squinted slightly, then sneered.
Oh, you got bitches over now?
That what we doin'? I stiffened. Nicky's eyes narrowed into slits.
Get the fuck outta here, Meek.
Her voice was low, steady.
Dangerous.
He smirked. Or what?
You gon' call the cops on me.
He leaned in closer.
Nah, you ain't gonna do that. You laugh Emil too much, baby. Nick's wohle body tensed.
For a brief second, I saw her eyes flash with something I couldn't place. Anger, pain, embarrassment, or maybe all. Then she shoved him. Hard.
Get the fuck out.
He stumbled back slightly, caught off guard. His eyes darkened, but he didn't say another word. Just glared at her before turning and stomping down the hallway. Nicky slammed the door shut, her hands trembling slightly. When she turned back around, her eyes were hard, but I could see the way they glossed slightly. She ran her hand down her face and exhaled sharply. I stood up and walked over, placing my hand on her arm. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them and let out a bitter laugh. Told you he was a bum. I didn't say anything. I just pulled her into me and held on. The first thing I noticed when I woke up this morning is the warmth. Not just from the covers, but from Nicky. She's laying across me, her body curled around mine like it's the most natural thing in the world. Her arm is draped over my waist, and her breath is soft against my neck.
The light from the morning sun filters through the curtains, casting a gentle glow over the room.
It's peaceful, in a way I didn't know I needed. I stay still for a few moments, not wanting to disturb her. I try to remember the events from the night before Meek showing up, the tension that followed, the way Nicky handled it. She was mad, of course, but beneath that anger, I saw something else. Vulnerability. Maybe it's the way she lets her guard down when she's with me, or how her smile always reaches her eyes, but last night, I saw her in a way I hadn't before. The night was a whirlwind. Meek coming by, trying to stir up trouble, thinking he could just walk in like nothing had changed. Nicky was mad, livid even, but instead of blowing up like I thought she might, she held it together. That was a side of her I wasn't sure I'd ever see. After Meek left, Nicky seemed to be trying to shake off the weight of it all, and I had to admit, I was still in shock myself.
We sat on the couch, just talking for hours.
And when the conversation quieted down, we both seemed to realize we had more in common than we thought. You know, Nicky had said, a little out of breath from the frustration, I should have kicked him out a long time ago. I'm tired of letting him come in and out like he owns the place. I nodded, not wanting to push too much but still giving her a gentle nudge. You don't need him.
Not like that.
You deserve someone who doesn't keep you on edge. Nicky had looked at me, something in her eyes flickering like she wanted to say something but wasn't sure. But after a long pause, she just let out a breath, as if the tension had finally released.
Yeah, I guess.
You right. I'm done with him. When she said that, a part of me wanted to believe her, but I knew it wasn't that simple. Nicky had been wrapped up in Meek for too long, and no matter how mad she got at him, a piece of her would always care. The conversation eventually shifted, moving away from Meek and onto lighter topics. We talked about random things, music, our favorite shows, how she couldn't believe I had never seen The Notebook. I was still in shock over that one. For a while we laughed, and I couldn't help but think how easy it was to be around her. Eventually, Nicky had gotten up, giving me a playful grin.
I'm crashing for the night.
You good? I nodded, though a part of me didn't want the night to end. I didn't want her to leave, but I didn't want to seem too eager either. So, when she suggested we just crash here, I couldn't help but smile.
Yeah, let's do it.
She went into her room to grab some clothes, and before I knew it, I found myself in one of her oversized shirts, the fabric swallowing me whole. She didn't mind though. In fact, she even made a joke about how cute I looked. After she showered, she came out in a tank top and boy shorts, her hair damp and curling at the edges. I couldn't help but watch her as she moved around, her energy filling the space. There was something magnetic about her, something that pulled me in even when I tried not to. We both climbed into bed, the cool sheets a contrast to the warmth we shared under them. The silence between us was comfortable, but there was also something unspoken in the air. A tension I wasn't sure how to address. For now, though, we just lay there, side by side, our bodies so close but still a little distant in the way that only comes when you're figuring out how to let someone in. Men can be so damn complicated sometimes, she said softly, breaking the silence. It wasn't a question, just an observation.
I let out a small laugh, the sound a little shaky.
Tell me about it. They're all the same. She turned her head, giving me a small smile. Yeah, but sometimes, you can't help but fall for their bullshit, huh? I nodded, the words coming out before I even had a chance to think.
I know the feeling. I been tere.
Nikki's hand moved, brushing a few stray hairs from my face. You know, you don't have to be so hard on yourself, she said quietly. You're worth more than whatever he tried to make you think.
End of flashback.
Her words hit me harder than I expected, and for a second, I couldn't find the right response. Instead, I just stared at her, her eyes full of understanding. It was strange to hear that from her, someone who, at first glance, seemed like she had everything together. But beneath that bravado was something more, something real. I didn't want to go too deep though.
Not to nicht.
So I just let the conversation fade, the comfortable silence wrapping around us like a blanket. When I wake up the next morning, the first thing I notice is the way Nikki is spread across me. I've got her arm over my waist, her face pressed into the crook of my neck. Her hair is a little messy, and she's still wearing the tank top and boy shorts from last night. I can't help but smile, the warmth of her body against mine feeling oddly comforting. I stay still, not wanting to disturb her, but also not sure what to do. A part of me is still reeling from everything, the conversation last night, Meek showing up, how Nikki seemed so different. I'm not used to this feeling, to this kind of closeness. She shifts, her arm tightening around me in her sleep, and I can't help but let out a quiet laugh. It's just like her to fall asleep like this, reckless and free. But even now, after everything, it feels right.
Therese, no tension, no expectations.
Just two people who are figuring it out as they go. A few moments later, Nikki wakes up, blinking a few times like she's trying to get her bearings. She lifts her head slightly, looking down at me, her eyes still heavy with sleep.
Morning, she murmurs, her voice soft, a little rook from the sleep.
I smile, unable to stop myself. Morning. She grins, though it's a bit lazy, and then shifts away slightly, stretching her arms above her head. She looks cute, even when she's barely awake. It's the kind of thing I wouldn't normally pay attention to, but with Nikki, it's different. Damn, she says, groaning as she pulls herself up into a sitting position. My back is killing me. I don't know how you do it, sleep like that all night.
I laug, sitting up too.
You just get used to it. She looks at me, raising an eyebrow. You must be real used to cuddling if you're not fazed by me sleeping all over you like that. I shrug, not wanting to say too much, but also not wanting her to think it didn't mean anything.
I don't mind it, I say, keeping my tone light.
Nikki's eyes soften for just a second, and I wonder what she's thinking about. But before I can say anything, she gets up from the bed, heading toward the bathroom. Come on, I have extra toothbrushes. I get up and head to the bathroom with her. All right, let's see what's for breakfast, she calls over her shoulder. I take a moment to collect my thoughts. Last night we talked, we laughed, and somehow, I feel like we know each other a little bit better. But there's still so much left unsaid. And for the first time in a while, I feel like I might be ready to say those things. I was laid out on my couch, one leg slung over the armrest, scrolling through my phone with no real purpose. I had a candle burning on the coffee table that was barely giving off a scent anymore, but I didn't bother blowing it out. The TV was on, but I wasn't paying attention. Some random show playing in the background, filling the apartment with noise. It had been a few days since the girls' night. Since Meek pulled his bum-ass stunt and embarrassed the hell out of me. I hadn't heard from him since, which was a good thing, but I was still kinda on edge, wondering if he was gonna pop back up with his usual BS. I wasn't pressed though. My focus had shifted to something else.
Beyoncé.
I hadn't stopped thinking about her since that night. Waking up with her soft little body under me was still playing in my head like a movie clip. I hadn't meant to knock out on her like that, but she didn't even seem mad. Shit, she was damn near cuddled up with me by the time I woke up. I smiled a little, remembering how she rubbed at her eyes, all sleepy and cute, whispering her good morning in that soft-ass voice. I pulled up her number and hovered my thumb over the call button. I didn't even know what I was about to say, but I pressed it anyway. She picked up after 2 rings. Hey, she answered softly.
Hey, you boozy.
I asked, sitting up a little.
No, just at home. WHY, what's up?
I could hear the faint sound of the TV in her background too. It was giving lonely girl curled up in a blanket vibes, and I suddenly wanted to be there. Let me come over, I said without really thinking about it.
You eat yet?
I'll grab some food. There was a slight pause, and I could picture her biting her lip or looking off, debating.
Okay.
That sounds nice. I smiled.
I'd bet. You want so meeting specifics or you want me to surprise you? Surprise me.
I liked that answer. Say less.
Il bitere in like, 30.
Okay. Drive safe. Her voice was so damn soft. It made me want to keep her on the phone, but I let her go.
I grabbed my keys and slid into some snacks before heading out.
About 35 minutes later, I was knocking on her door, a bag of food in my hand and my heart unexpectedly doing a lil 2-step. I hadn't been nervous before, but now, standing at her door, it hit me. The door swung open, and there she was. No makeup, hair in a loose bun, wearing some little shorts and a tank top. Real chill. Real fine. Hey, she smiled, tucking a piece of hair behind her ear. Hey, I smiled back, walking in.
You look cute.
I didn't even mean to say it, it just slipped out. She let out a soft chuckle and looked down, all shy. Thank you. She mumbled, closing the door behind me. I sat the food on her counter and turned to look at her. You sure you don't got no secret boyfriend about to pop out on me?
You look too good to be sitting here alone.
She laughed softly but shook her head.
No secret boyfriend.
Good, I smirked, pulling out the food. We sat on her couch, eating takeout straight out the containers. It felt easy, natural. She wasn't as nervous as she was the first time I met her. She even cracked a few jokes, smiling more freely. I liked seeing her like that. Comfortable. Yo, why you never talk to me about secret? I asked between bites, leaning back into the couch. You just lettin' me talk my little teacher talk while you out here running a whole empire. She blushed a little, tucking her leg under her. It's not an empire. She mumbled, playing with the hem of her shorts. Girl, stop being humble, I teased. I see you all over the place with that line. I know money when I see it. I grinned.
Don't be SHY with me.
She shook her head, laughing softly, but I could tell she wasn't used to being hyped up. That shit was cute to me. We ended up watching some old rom-com she liked. She was cuddled up with a throw pillow, and without really thinking, I tossed my legs over her lap. She didn't say anything, just absent-mindedly rested her hand on my shin. Her touch was light, but it was there. She was comfortable enough to do it, and I wasn't mad at it.
You ever been in love before?
I asked randomly, breaking the silence. She blinked a few times before looking over at me. Yeah. She nodded softly. I thought I was. With Jay.
Imade Afes.
You thought you was? She smiled faintly, almost sad. I know now that it wasn't love.
Not real love, anyway.
She shrugged a little, her eyes falling to her lap. I think I just loved who I wanted him to be. I stared at her for a minute, watching her eyes dim just a little when she talked about him. That soft voice of hers got even smaller when she mentioned his name.
It annoyed me.
She didn't deserve to feel like that.
Yeah, well. I muttered, running my fingers over the hem of my shorts.
I was dumb enough to think I was in love with Meek too, so don't feel bad. We was both trippin'. Her lips twitched into a tiny smile, and she met my eyes again.
You wären dumm. Girl, I let a grown man run up my bills, wreck my car, and sleep in my bed with no job and no plan. I shook my head.
I was dumb. Her soft laugh filled the room, and I grinned. I loved making her laugh like that. It was sweet and breathy, barely making a sound. We kept talking, falling into this easy, low conversation about love, exes, and all the shit we put up with for no reason. She told me how Jay used to make her feel crazy, making her think she was overreacting about everything. I told her about how Meek would sit on the couch playing 2K for hours while I was at work, then ask me to pick up food on my way home. See, now I'm mad all over again, I joked, making her laugh. After a while, she leaned into the couch, her legs stretched over my lap, her head resting on the armrest. I leaned back into Bay's couch, my stomach full, my legs stretched out, and my mind a little too relaxed. Spending time with her was easy, almost too easy. It was kinda messing with my head how natural this felt. The way we just sat here, eating and talking like we'd known each other forever. Bay was curled up in the corner of the couch, holding onto a pillow like it was a security blanket. She had this soft, sleepy look in her eyes, but I could tell she was still tuned in. The TV was playing some random rom-com she picked, but neither of us was really watching it. You know, I started, stretching my arms over my head. I think this is the first time in a long-ass time I just chilled like this.
No stress, no bullshit, just wieben.
She smiled a little, hugging her pillow tighter. Yeah. I nodded. Yeah. Meek always had some type of drama going on, whether it was him trying to prove he was the next big thing or him complaining about how I don't support him enough.
I rolled my eyes.
Like, boy, get a job. Bay let out a soft laugh, shaking her head. You really did everything for him, huh?
Man, everything I said, shaking my head.
He had me out here looking crazy. My homegirl's been trying to tell me, but you know when you in some mess, you don't want to hear it. She nodded like she understood. Yeah, I get that.
I tilted my head at her. So, what about you?
You always this quiet, or Jay had you scared to talk? She hesitated, like she had to really think about that. I guess. I was just used to keeping the peace, she admitted, picking at the fabric of the pillow. He always made me feel like I was overreacting, so I just stopped reacting. I frowned. Damn. That's crazy, 'cause I feel like you should be snapping on niggas. I grinned.
Like, you Beyoncé.
You supposed to be given nigga please energy. She let out a soft laugh, but there was something sad behind it. I wish I was more like you, she said, her voice low. I blinked, caught off guard. Like me? She nodded, tucking her legs under her.
You say what you feel. You don't hold back.
You don't care if it makes someone uncomfortable, you just say it. I smirked. Yeah, and that's why people say I talk too much. She smiled a little, then got quiet again. I watched her for a minute before shifting closer, resting my arm on the back of the couch. But real talk. You ain't gotta be loud to make people hear you.
You just gotta mean what you say. Endstand on it.
Her eyes flicked up to mine, and for a second, it felt like something was shifting.
The air got a little heavier, the space between us a little smaller.
I don't know what it was, but I felt it. I cleared my throat, shaking it off. Anyway, enough about these bum-ass exes.
Let's do the meeting.
She tilted her head. Like what? I hopped up off the couch, stretching.
Shit, I don't know.
You got any liquor? She gave me a look.
Nikki.
I laughed. I'm just saying.
I feel like you don't ever let loose.
You got all these houses, all this money, and you just be sitting in here watching sad movies.
I shook my head.
Nah, we gotta fix that. She sighed, but I could see the little smile peeking through. I have wine. I gasped dramatically. Wine?
Girl, I was thinking, so meten, a little stronger. Schelauket, rolling her eyes.
I don't really drink like that. I plopped back down next to her.
All recht, fine.
Wine it is. But we playin' a game too. She raised an eyebrow. A game. I grinned. Yeah.
Trut oordare.
Her eyes widened slightly.
Nikki. Girl, relax. It ain't gotta be crazy. Just fun.
I gave her my best innocent smile. She sighed but finally nodded. Okay, fine.
I klappt my Hans togeter. Bet.
Lemme get that wine, and we gettin' started. A bottle of wine and several truths and dares later, we were both laughing a little too hard, sprawled out on the couch. Bay was a little tipsy, not drunk, just loose. I could tell by the way she kept giggling over nothing. My turn, she said, sitting up straighter.
Trut oordare.
I smirked.
Dare.
She bit her lip, thinking. Okay.
I dare you too.
She looked around, then pointed to her kitchen. Go in there and sing the first song that comes to mind. Loud. I cackled. That's the dare? That's light work. She's so innocent. I jumped up and strutted to the kitchen like I was about to perform for a sold-out crowd. I cleared my throat dramatically, then belted out the first song that popped into my head. That pussy hit like royalty.
Bes Lauk exploded trug se apartment es I batscheret se hell autas za song kitchen.
Must be hard for you to low see me. I dropped to my knees, fake crying, clutching my chest like I was performing at the Grammys. Bay was doubled over, laughing so hard she had to hold her stomach. Nikki, stop. She gasped between laughs. I slid across her floor on my knees like I was in a music video, pointing at her. Dancing and kissing in the kitchen makes me forget. I forgive him. She threw a pillow at me, still giggling uncontrollably.
I hate you.
I grinned, hopping up and flopping back onto the couch next to her. She was still giggling, her cheeks slightly flushed, her eyes bright. You having fun yet? I teased, nudging her. She nodded, still smiling. Yeah, I am. For a second, neither of us said anything. We were just sitting there, breathing the same air, close enough to touch. The mood had shifted again, the laughter dying down into something softer. She was looking at me. Really looking at me. And I was looking right back. I don't know what would have happened next if her phone hadn't buzzed on the table. The spell broke, and she glanced at the screen before sighing. It's my lawyer, she muttered, rubbing her forehead. I blinked. You good? She nodded, but didn't look convinced.
Yeah, just die Wurststuf.
I studied her face, the way her whole mood shifted at the mention of it. Hey, I said, nudging her again.
You ain't gotta go trug all zet alone, you know. You got me now.
She looked at me, and for a second, she looked like she wanted to say something. But instead, she just gave me a small, grateful smile. Thanks, Nick.
Anytime, B.
She leaned back into the couch, and I did too. The energy was different now, lighter but deeper. Like we both knew something had changed, but neither of us was ready to say it out loud. And honestly, I was cool with that. I had been pacing my apartment for the last hour, my mind running in circles. My laptop sat open on the coffee table, the divorce paperwork staring back at me like it was daring me to sign. I picked up my wine glass and took a slow sip, trying to steady myself. The call with my lawyer earlier had been quick, straight to the point. Everything was set, I just had to follow through. It should have felt like freedom. Instead, it felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing once I jumped, there was no going back. My phone buzzed on the couch beside me.
Nikki funkelndes Herz, home?
I smiled a little before typing back.
Yeah, WHY?
A few seconds later, my phone started ringing. I sighed, shaking my head as I answered.
Wat, Nikki? Dam. Schelauket.
Why you answer like I'm stressing you out?
I sat down, tucking my legs under me.
Because you always call instead of texting back. And? She said, like that was supposed to mean something. I could hear music playing in the background, voices too.
Where are you?
Out with Candy and Lauren, she said.
Wie was just talken, boot you. I reiset a brau.
Why? Because I told them you actin' like a sad little wife instead of a rich, soon-to-be divorced woman who need to celebrate. I sighed, rubbing my temple.
Nikki.
Nah, she cut me off.
I ein trüner Herr Alsett.
Get dressed. I frowned. For what?
Beyoncé. She dragged out my name like I was being difficult.
I'm coming to get you. You got 20 minutes.
Nikki.
The line went dead. I stared at my phone, then at the divorce papers, then back at my phone. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Nikki's passenger seat, questioning every life choice that led me here. She glanced over at me and smirked. See? That wasn't so hard. I rolled my eyes, pulling my coat tighter around me. Where are we going? You'll see. 15 minutes later, we pulled up to a lounge, low lights, music spilling out onto the sidewalk, a small line wrapped around the entrance. Lauren and Candy were already inside when we got to our table, drinks waiting.
Look at you.
Candy grinned, pulling me into a hug. Nikki said you wasn't gon' come.
I seid, sitting down.
I almost didn't.
Lauren slit a glas tovat me. Drink first.
Talk later.
I lauket, shaking my head before taking a sip. The night bluered togeter in the best way.
It wasn't anything wild, just good energy. I let myself exist outside of my thoughts for once, laughing with them, letting Nikki drag me to the dance floor even when I protested, ignoring the past few weeks of chaos for a few hours. At some point, Nikki leaned in close, her lips near my ear.
You feel better now.
I turned to her, our faces only inches apart. Yeah, I admitted, smiling. I think I do. Nikki grinned, her dimples showing. Good.
Now let's get you another drink. I shook my head, laughing.
I think I'm good for now. She rolled her eyes but didn't push it. Instead, she grabbed my hand and led me back to our table, where Candy and Lauren were deep in conversation about some guy that had been staring at them all night. Nikki flopped down beside me, kicking her feet up on the seat.
Y'all see bei out hier beim Social?
I'm proud. Candy smirked. It only took you dragging her out the house. Right, Lauren added, sipping her drink. She was probably curled up with a robe on, stressin' over that man.
I seid, shaking my head.
Y'all are so dramatic. Nikki nudged me. But we right, huh? I rolled my eyes but didn't argue. They weren't wrong.
I sat back, looking around the lounge.
The music was good, the vibe was even better. It had been a long time since I let myself just enjoy the moment without thinking about what came next. Nikki must have noticed me zoning out because she leaned in again.
What you thinkin', Boot? I glanced at her.
Nothing really.
She sighed at me.
Lined. I sighed, twirling my straw around my glass. It's just, I don't know. I feel like I should be more upset than I am right now.
Nikki shrugged.
You cried already? I nodded. Too much. Then maybe you done cryin', she said simply.
Maybe now you just trüner feel normal again.
I looked at her, taking in how casual she was about it, like it was that easy.
You ever felt like this?
Nikki chuckled, sipping her drink. Hell yeah.
Plenty of times.
She set her glass down and leaned back. When I first left Meek, I ain't know what to do with myself. I was mad, I was hurt, but I was also relieved. Like, damn, I ain't gotta deal with that stress no more. But at the same time, I ain't know what my life was gon' look like without it.
I nodded slowly.
That's exactly how I feel. Nikki smirked. See?
You normal, bei. You gon' be allrecht.
I let her words settle, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The night carried on, the drinks kept flowing, and for once, I let myself have fun. At some point, I stepped away to go to the bathroom. As I washed my hands, I stared at my reflection in the mirror, really looking at myself. I looked different.
Not in a bad way.
Just different. Maybe it was the alcohol, maybe it was the fact that for the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about Jay, wasn't thinking about how I had to keep everything together. I just felt like me. As I made my way back to the table, I saw Nikki already looking at me, her head tilted like she was trying to read my mind. You good? She asked as soon as I sat down.
I smiled, nodding.
Yeah. I actually think I am. Nikki clinked her glass against mine. Good.
Now let's get you on the dance floor one more time before we get outta here.
I groaned, but I let her drag me out of my seat again. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was pretending to be okay.
I actually was. Bye, come on.
You actin' like I dragged you here to get a damn makeover or something. Nikki was 2 steps ahead of me, already inside the boutique, her long nails tapping against a rack of dresses as she flipped through them. I stayed near the entrance, arms crossed, feeling completely out of place. The mall was busy, filled with the sound of chatter, distant music from different stores, and the occasional burst of laughter from excited shoppers.
I sighed. You kinda did.
She turned around, giving me a look before rolling her eyes.
Girl, please.
You needed this. We are single women now, and we gotta be hot, okay? No more sad-ass outfits. She waved a hand at my oversized hoodie and leggings like I had committed a crime. I looked down at myself, suddenly self-conscious. I had always dressed comfortably, especially since I spent most of my time working. Owning Secret was exhausting, and if I wasn't at the office or in a meeting, I was at home in my sweats, trying to breathe. Fashion hadn't been on my mind in a long time, and after everything with Jay, I hadn't felt like dressing up for anyone. Nikki, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. She was always put together, tight outfits, face beat, hair laid. Even now, she had on a fitted pink two-piece that hugged her curves, her curly hair bouncing as she strutted around the store like she owned it.
Nikki, you don't need.
Nope. She cut me off, holding up a sexy black dress against my frame.
Oh, this is the one.
You trying to be mysterious, but also like, damn, I know I'm fine.
I shook my head.
Nikki, I'm not wearing that. She sucked her teeth. Why not? Because. I exhaled, looking around as if someone could save me. It's just not me. She sighed dramatically before tossing the dress over her arm.
Okay, so what is you?
'Cause all I been seein' is sweaters and shit, and I ain't letting you walk around like no sad ex-wife. We doing better, remember? She said, hip-bumping me.
I pressed my lips together.
She wasn't wrong. I had spent so much time consumed by Jay, by our marriage, by his needs, that I had lost sight of my own. And now, standing in this store with Nikki, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Like I had permission to want something for myself.
I sighed. Fine.
But nothing too much. Nikki clapped her hands together. That's all I needed to hear. She immediately got to work, pulling dresses, tops, and heels like she was a personal stylist. I just stood there, watching her move. The way she got excited over the outfits, the way she hummed to the music playing in the store, the way she looked at me when she handed me certain pieces, like she already knew they'd look good on me. All right, go try these on, she said, shoving a pile of clothes into my arms.
I starred at her.
You're not serious. Oh, I'm deadass.
Dressing rooms overtere.
I hesitated before finally taking the clothes and heading toward the fitting room. Once inside, I closed the door and looked at myself in the mirror. My hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, my makeup was minimal, and my sweatshirt looked even bigger under these lights. I took a deep breath and started changing. The first dress was simple black fitted, knee-length, a few cutouts and sleeveless. It hugged my body in a way that made me feel exposed, but not in a bad way. When I stepped out, Nikki's eyes immediately lit up. Oh bitch.
I laughed, shaking my head. Nikki.
No, turn around, let me see. She grabbed my arm, making me do a slow spin.
Yeah, this is it I told you by. You sitten on so meten under them baggy as clothes. But you have a body.
I covered my face, embarrassed.
You re so extra.
And you act like you ain't fine, she shot back, tilting her head as she looked me up and down. You need to start seeing what everybody else sees. I swallowed. The way she said it caught me off guard. There was something about the way she looked at me. Like she was really seeing me, not just as Beyoncé, business owner, ex-wife of an NFL player, but just me. I felt warm under her gaze, and I quickly turned back toward the fitting room. I'm trying on the next one. Yeah, she said, smirking. And hurry up, I wanna see what else we workin' with. After a few more outfits, and Nikki hyping me up the whole time, we left the store with more bags than I planned for. She insisted on carrying most of them, though, claiming it was her job, since she was the one who forced me to do this in the first place. "Alright, now that we got you some bad bitch clothes, we need food," she said as we walked through the mall. I nodded, still processing the day.
Yeah, I kult it.
We found a restaurant inside the mall and got a table near the window. As soon as we sat down, Nikki pulled out her phone, scrolling through something. I rested my chin in my hand. "What are you doing?" "Looking for somewhere to wear that dress to," she said, without looking up. "Now that you got options, we gotta show you off."
I shook my head, smiling a little.
"Nikki, I don't need to be shown off." She glanced up at me, her lips curling into a grin.
Bye, stop playing, you fine, you single, and we outside.
I laughed softly, but there was something about the way she said it. The way she was looking at me. It had only been a few months since we met, but it felt comfortable. Like I had known her forever. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like Jay's wife or a woman trying to hold everything together, I just felt like myself. And maybe that was why I couldn't stop staring at her. 3 days later. The bass from the club was already thumping as we pulled up, the neon lights reflecting off the pavement. Bay sat beside me in the car, looking hesitant as hell, her perfectly manicured fingers fidgeting in her lap.
I sighed, glancing ahead. Bye, come on now.
"We single women, we hot, and we outside tonight."
You ain't backing out, are you?
She let out a soft breath, shaking her head. "No, I don't really go to clubs like this. It's not my scene." I smirked, unbuckling my seatbelt. "Girl, that's exactly why we here.
You gotta losen up.
You too fine to be cooped up in the house, sad over a nigger that don't even deserve you." Beyoncé let out a soft chuckle, finally stepping out of the car. The second we walked up, the bouncer took one look at us and let us right in, no line, no hassle, no entry fee. Perks of being a bad bitch. Pretty privilege is definitely real. Inside, the club was packed, bodies moving against each other under the flashing lights. The air smelled like liquor and expensive cologne, the energy buzzing. I could already feel the music pulling me in, my hips naturally swaying to the beat. Bay stuck close to me, her eyes scanning the room like she wasn't sure what to do with herself. I grabbed her hand, leading her toward the VIP section. "First things first, drinks." She hesitated. "Nikki 3, you know I don't really drink like that." I rolled my eyes playfully. "And you don't club either, but look at you now."
Life a little.
I ordered us some shots, handing her one. She eyed the glass before finally sighing and knocking it back. Her face scrunched up instantly, and I laughed.
"See?
That wasn't so bad."
Shekuhet a little.
"That was terrible." "One more," I insisted, sliding another shot her way. She hesitated, then took it, shaking her head at me. It didn't take long before the liquor started working. I could see it in the way her shoulders relaxed, the way she started swaying a little to the music. That was my cue. "Come on," I said, grabbing her hand again, pulling her onto the dance floor.
"Nikki, wait, I don't."
I didn't let her finish. I turned around and pressed my body against hers, moving slow to the beat. At first, she was stiff as hell, barely moving, but I kept my hands on her hips, guiding her. "Just follow me," I murmured against her ear. Something shifted then. Maybe it was the alcohol, maybe it was the music, but she let go. Her body started moving with mine, slow and smooth. My hands stayed on her waist, gripping her a little tighter as the song switched to something deeper, sexier. I don't know when it happened, but at some point, our bodies weren't just dancing, they were talking. The way her hips rolled against mine, the way my hands held her close, the way she let herself melt into me. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't just having fun. I wasn't just hyping her up or trying to make sure she had a good time. I liked this. I liked the way she felt against me, the way she looked up at me through those soft brown eyes, all shy but still moving with me. I wasn't just protecting her from being sad over Jay, I was getting possessive, feeling like I didn't even want nobody else in her space like this.
The realization sent a weird little jolt through me.
Bay must have felt the shift too, 'cause she slowed down, her eyes flicking up to meet mine like she was trying to figure something out. For a second, I thought she was about to pull away, but then she did something that damn near took me out. She leaned in, her lips barely brushing my ear, and whispered, "This is kind of fun." I smirked, trying to act like my heart wasn't beating fast as hell. "Told you." The moment was cut short when a random dude slid up way too close, his hand reaching for Beyoncé's waist.
Ayo, ma, lemme get a dance.
Bey jumped slightly, stepping back, but before she could say anything, I was already between them, my hand on his chest, pushing him back.
Nah, she good.
Dude frowned, looking me up and down like he was debating whether or not to press the issue. Damn, shorty can't speak for herself? I tilted my head, giving him a look that let him know he was about 5 seconds from getting embarrassed. She don't need to when I already said what I said. Bey grabbed my arm gently. "Nikki, it's fine." I wasn't trying to make a scene, so I just rolled my eyes and pulled her back toward the VIP section. But that wasn't the end of it. The whole night, dudes kept trying it, coming up to her, buying her drinks, touching her arm when they talked to her like they had the right. And the whole night, I was getting more and more pissed. Like, I wasn't even drunk no more. I was just irritated. Bey wasn't making it any better either. She was giggling, blushing, being all sweet and soft like she always is. And I knew she wasn't interested in none of these men for real, but that didn't stop the jealousy from creeping up my spine every time I saw another one in her face. At one point, she was sitting on the couch in VIP, laughing at something some dude was saying, and I felt my face twist up before I could even stop myself. Candy must have noticed, 'cause she leaned in, smirking. "Damn, Nick.
You met or so meten.
I sucked my teeth.
Ain't nobody met.
Lauren snorted.
You been mean mugging all night.
You sure? I waved them off, grabbing another drink. But the more I watched Bey, the worse it got. She was just so damn fine. And seeing all these men fawning over her like she was up for grabs? I hated that shit. She wasn't up for grabs. She was my girl. The thought stopped me in my tracks.
My girl? I blinked, shaking my head.
Nah, I was trippin'. Me and Bey was just vibing. Friends. That's it. But then she turned her head, caught me staring, and smiled.
And just like that, I knee.
I wasn't trippin' at all. I woke up with a pounding headache and my phone vibrating non-stop on the nightstand. Groaning, I rolled over, squinting at the bright-ass screen. Ren, 10 missed calls. Candy, 3 missed calls. Unknown number, 4 missed calls. I had half a mind to throw the phone across the room, but then last night came rushing back to me. The club.
Beyoncé.
The way she felt against me. The way I almost squared up with every man that looked her way. Shit. I ran a hand over my face, laying back against the pillows. I had never been the jealous type. Ever. But last night? Seeing all those dudes trying to get at Bey like she wasn't just slow grinding on me 5 minutes before? It had me ready to set it off. And that wasn't normal. I sighed, finally grabbing my phone and unlocking it. Before I could even think about texting Bey, Candy's name popped up on FaceTime. I answered with a groggy, "What?" Candy's face filled the screen, already laughing.
Damn bitch, you look rook.
I flipped her off and sat up.
VHY you blovin, my phone absis early.
It's 1 in the afternoon, Nick. Early where?
I smacked my lips. Mann, warte ver. What you want?
Candy gave me a look, then smirked. Oh, I just wanted to check in on you and your girl. I rolled my eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck.
Here we go. Here we go noting, she shot back.
You was on Beyoncé's ass all night. Had the whole club thinkin' she was your wife or something. Lauren popped up in the background, laughing. Not wife though.
I seid, rubbing my temples.
Y'all are so annoying. Candy leaned closer to the camera.
You jealous, Nick.
I scoffed. Jealous of what? The fact that every dude in that club was trying to snatch Beyoncé up last night, she said, her voice teasing but dead serious at the same time. 'Cause I ain't never seen you act like that before. I paused, not really knowing what to say. Was I jealous? Hell yeah. But was I about to sit here and admit that to them? Hell no. It wasn't even like that, I muttered, getting up and walking to the bathroom. I ignored them as I turned on the sink and splashed some cold water on my face, starting my morning hygiene. But even as I tried to shake it off, I couldn't get the image of Bay out of my head.
The way she let loose.
The way she smiled at me when we danced. The way she felt in my arms. I had been with women before, but this was different. This was Beyoncé. And I knew she wasn't thinking about me like that. She was fresh out of her mess with Jay, just trying to have fun, and here I was catching feelings like a damn fool. I needed to chill. Yo, Nick Lauren's voice snapped me out of my thoughts.
Bei hit you up yet.
I wiped my face and grabbed my phone again. No texts. No missed calls from her.
Nah.
Candy hummed. Maybe she's still asleep. Maybe, I mumbled, but something about it felt off. Bay wasn't the type to be out all night. She wasn't used to getting wasted and turning up like that. What if she woke up regretting it? What if she thought I was doing too much? Before I could spiral any further, my phone finally buzzed. Bay honeypot, morning. Well, afternoon, lol. I just got up. You good? I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Yeah, I said, a little more relaxed now. She just texted. Candy and Lauren both oat like we was back in high school. You'll get on my nerves, I muttered, but I couldn't even hide the small smile creeping up on my face. I didn't know what was going on between me and Bay, but one thing was for sure, this wasn't just some regular friendship. And that? That was low-key scaring the hell out of me. I woke up with a dull ache behind my eyes, a mix of too much liquor and too many thoughts. The night before played in my head like a movie I wasn't sure how to feel about. I could still hear the music, still feel the heat of the club, still remember the way Nikki's hands held onto my waist, guiding me like she'd done it a million times before. I turned over in bed, staring at the ceiling. Why did I let myself get that comfortable with her? It wasn't like me. I didn't let go like that, didn't let people pull me into their energy so easily. But Nikki had this way of making me forget myself, like I wasn't the same woman who spent years walking on eggshells in my relationship, afraid to do too much, say too much, be too much. I sighed, finally pushing myself out of bed. I needed to do something to shake this feeling, so I got dressed and headed to Seacard, hoping work would distract me. At Seacard, the scent of eucalyptus and vanilla filled the office as I walked in, the familiar space bringing me a small sense of peace. This was mine, something I built, something nobody could take away from me. I checked in with my employees, made small talk, and pretended like I wasn't completely lost in my own head. But even as I tried to focus, my mind drifted. Nikki. The way she looked at me last night. The way she held on to me when we danced, her body warm and solid against mine. The way she got in that man's face the second he got too close to me.
I shook my head, frustrated. She's just a friend.
That's all.
A friend who made me feel safe.
A friend who made me feel seen. My phone buzzed in my purse. I grabbed it, already knowing who it was before I even looked.
Nikki funkelndes Herz, WYD Stuck-up Girl? I smiled a little, shaking my head.
Me, working. A few seconds later, my phone lit up again.
Nikki funkelndes Herz, boring. Let's get food later. I hesitated.
I shouldn't have, but I did. Hanging out with Nikki felt different now, and I didn't even know why. Me, where?
Nikki funkelndes Herz, come to my place, I'll cook. I bit my lip.
That shouldn't have made me nervous, but it did. Me, okay. I put my phone down, staring at it like it held the answers I was looking for. Why do I feel like this? Later that night, at Nikki's place. I stood outside Nikki's apartment for a second before knocking. I could hear music playing inside, something old school with a heavy bass. A few seconds later, the door swung open, and there she was wearing a fitted tank top and some tiny-ass shorts, like she was trying to test me. Look who finally decided to show up, she teased, stepping aside to let me in.
I rolled my eyes, walking past her.
I wasn't late. Nikki smirked. The place smelled like food, something spicy and rich. I followed her into the kitchen, watching as she moved around like she knew exactly what she was doing. You really know how to cook? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Nikki turned and gave me a look.
Girl, don't play with me.
I does this. I laughed, sitting on the counter as she plated up our food Cajun chicken and sausage Alfredo. We ate, we talked, we laughed. It was easy, like it always was with her. But under it all, something felt different. Or maybe it was just me. At some point, we ended up on her couch, a glass of wine in my hand, my legs tucked underneath me. So, Nikki started, tilting her head.
How you feelin' after last night?
I swallowed. What do you mean? She smirked. I mean, you was gettin' real comfortable with me. Had me thinking you might be feelin' me a little bit.
My heart shipped.
I knew she was joking, or at least, half joking, but it still made me nervous.
I laughed lightly, shaking my head.
I was just drunk. Nikki gave me a look like she didn't believe me. Oh, so you don't remember how you was all up on me, huh?
I rolled my eyes. I rolled my eyes.
You exaggerating. Nikki scoffed, shifting closer to me on the couch. Oh, I'm exaggerating? So I imagined you grinding all up on me, singing in my ear like we was the only ones in that club.
My face got hot. Nikki.
Nah, 'cause if I ain't no better, I'd think you was trying to seduce me. She grinned, sipping her wine.
I sighed, looking down at my glass.
The truth was, I did remember.
Wer sekund.
The warmth of her body against mine, the way she held me like she belonged there, the way it felt right. But I wasn't ready to admit that, not even to myself. It was just fun, I said finally. That's all. Nikki gave me a long look before leaning back against the couch. Aight. If you say so. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, the sound of music playing softly in the background. The air between us felt heavy, like there were things neither of us wanted to say out loud. So, Nikki finally said, stretching her legs out. You talked to Jay? I tensed up at the mention of his name.
No. Nikki side-eyed me.
He been Callan. I sighed. Yeah. But I don't answer. Nikki scoffed. Good. He don't deserve a response.
I bit my lip, staring at my Wineglas.
It's not that easy.
Nikki sat up, turning to face me.
Yes, it is. He cheated on you, bae.
Disrespected you. Lied to you.
And now he wanna act like he the victim, 'cause you done. She shook her head.
Don't let that man play with you.
I stayed quiet. I knew she was right, but part of me still felt tangled up in everything. Years of habit, of being with someone who made me question myself, didn't just disappear overnight.
Nikki sighed, wetting me.
Look, I know it's hard. I been there. She ran a hand through her hair. But I'm tellin' you, the minute you let that man go for real, you gon' feel so much lighter.
I nodded slowly.
I'm trying. Nikki nudged my leg with her foot. Well, hurry up.
We single women now. Gotta be hot. I laughed, shaking my head.
Is that why you been dragged me shopping and to clubs and everything else you think of? Hell yeah. You see how fine you looked in them dresses. She smirked. I was about to risk it all. I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't help the way my stomach flipped at her words.
You stupid.
Nikki grinned, sipping her wine.
I'm serious, bye. You are bad bitch.
You just gotta start actin' like it.
I exhaled, leaning back into the couch.
Maybe she was right. Maybe it was time I started seeing myself the way she did.
Nikki wetchet Emil for a moment bevor nut ging Emil again. Eit, let's watch someten. I ein Trüner bi all deb and emotional tonicht. I laughed softly. What you wanna watch?
Nikki smirked.
Someten, messy. I shook my head. I kne you wäre gonna sei set.
She grabbed the remote, flipping through Netflix. What? You know you love the drama just as much as I do. I smiled, settling in as she picked a reality show. And as the night went on, with Nikki's laughter filling the room and the weight of my past feeling just a little bit lighter, I realized something. For the first time in a long time, I felt good. I felt free. I should have known he wouldn't just let me go. Jay's been quiet for weeks, and a part of me let my guard down thinking maybe, for once, he was just gonna accept the consequences of his actions. But I should have known better. This morning, I woke up to a delivery at my door. Roses, a ridiculous amount of them, flooding the hallway of my apartment building. A small white card sat on top, with his handwriting staring back at me.
Still yours. Always.
I felt my stomach twist as I read it.
I stod here for a long time, just staring at the flowers, my fingers gripping the card tight.
He was trying to pull me back in, trying to remind me of all the years we spent together, all the moments he thought would be enough to make me forget what he did. And for a second, I hated that it worked, just a little. Because no matter how badly I wanted to erase him from my life, there were pieces of him still stuck in me.
I hated that.
Instead of dealing with it, I did the only thing that made sense. I grabbed my phone and called Nikki. She picked up on the second ring.
What's up, B? I let out a deep sich. J sent Emil flowers.
There was a pause and then, girl, what? I could already hear the attitude in her voice. A lot of them, I mumbled, stepping back inside my apartment. Like, my whole hallway looks like a damn funeral home. Nikki let out a loud, annoyed groan.
Oh, he trüner bi manipulative.
That's some classic narcissist shit. I rubbed my forehead, already feeling a headache coming on. I don't know what to do. Nikki clicked her tongue. You do know what to do, you just trying to be nice about it. You want me to come over and throw them out for you. I almost laughed at the way she said it, but the truth was, I didn't trust myself to not get caught up in the emotions of it all. Jay knew exactly what he was doing. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with another message from him. Jay, I know you hate me right now, but just let me talk to you. I miss you, B. I clenched my jaw, my fingers tightening around my phone. Beyoncé Nikki's voice snapped me out of it. Do not respond to that man. I wasn't going to, I muttered, even though I wasn't sure if that was true.
She sighed. Look, I know this is hard.
Y'all got history, and he gone try to use that against you. But you left for a reason.
Don't let so madam flowers and sweet words undo all that progress you made.
I swallowed, nodding even though she couldn't see me.
Yeah, you're right.
I know I'm right. Her voice softened.
You wanna come over? Get your mind off it.
I did. I really did. Being around Nikki always made me feel lighter, like I could breathe again. But a part of me knew I had to sit with this, process it on my own before running away from it. I think I just need a minute, I admitted. Nikki didn't argue. All right. But don't sit there and overthink yourself back into his arms.
You hear me. A small smile tugged at my lips. I hear you.
Good. And if you change your mind, you know where I'm at. I hung up and stared down at Jay's message again. The old me would have responded, would have given him the chance to explain, to twist my feelings into something that kept me trapped. But I wasn't that woman anymore. Without another thought, I blocked his number, grabbed my keys, and walked out of my apartment, leaving the flowers behind. Have those flowers thrown away from me, please, I told my doorman. I was done letting Jay control my emotions. At least I hope so. Bay had me fucked up. I sat on the edge of my bed, scrolling through my phone, trying to calm my nerves, but I wasn't built for this kind of patience. Jay sending flowers? Bay actually considering his little manipulative ass apology?
Yeah, nah.
That wasn't sitting right with me. I know she's still trying to figure everything out, but damn. The fact that he could even make her hesitate just a little bit was enough to piss me off. I ain't never let no weak-ass man play with me like that. Well, I did, but this ain't about me right now. This is about Bay, and I wasn't about to sit back and watch Bay get played either. I called her. She picked up on the first ring. Hey. Her voice was soft, like she was still in her head about it. I sighed.
You boozy today?
No. Good. Get dressed.
We going out.
She hesitated. Where? Does it matter? I just know you sittin' up there overthinking, and I'm not about to let you spiral over some damn flowers. She let out a small chuckle, but I could tell she was still unsure.
Nikki, I don't know.
Bae, I cut her off, my tone firm but playful. I'm not asking you. Be ready in an hour. I hung up before she could argue and hopped up to get dressed. 2 hours later, we were laid out in the spa, wrapped up in robes, sipping on some bougie-ass cucumber water. The tension in Bae's shoulders had finally started to ease up, and I could tell she was relaxing. That's all I wanted, to get her mind off him, even if just for a little bit. I glanced over at her as she leaned her head back against the chair, her eyes closed, looking peaceful. The light from the candles in the room hit her skin just right, and for a second I just stared. She was beautiful. I mean, obviously, but it was different up close like this. She had this softness to her that was almost intimidating. It made you want to protect her, keep her safe from anything that could hurt her. Damn. I looked away quick, taking another sip of my water like I ain't just have a whole moment.
You feelin' better?
I asked. She opened her eyes and looked over at me, smiling.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki.
I waved her off.
Girl, please.
You needed this.
She laughed softly, shaking her head.
I did. There was a beat of silence, and then she sighed, her smile fading just a little. I hate that he still has this hold on me.
I set my glass down. Bye, listen.
That man been messin' with your head for years.
You ain't gonna unlearn all that over nicht.
But the fact that you even see it now?
That's a start.
And I ain't about to let you backslide, so you stuck with me. She laughed again, and this time it felt real. I appreciate you for real. I smirked.
Yeah.
Now finish your water before they kick us out. After the spa, I took her to this little rooftop bar I liked. It was real chill, not too crowded, and they had the best margaritas. We sat outside, the city lights stretching out around us, music playing low in the background. Bae was finally looking like herself again, smiling, laughing, letting go. We talked about everything, our exes, our dreams, random shit that ain't even matter. I liked talking to her. It was easy. At some point, she reached across the table and grabbed my hand, squeezing it lightly. I really needed this. Thank you, Nikki. I looked at her, and for a second, I didn't know what to say. The way she was looking at me, I felt something shift.
I shook it off quick, playing it cool.
Girl, stop being sentimental before I make you pay for the drinks. She laughed, rolling her eyes, but she didn't let go of my hand. And I didn't pull away. Shit. I wasn't ready to think too hard about what that meant. All I knew was, I liked being around her. And I wasn't about to let no man take that away. I shouldn't have listened to the voicemail.
I knew better.
Jay's voice came through my phone, low and tired like he hadn't slept. B. I know I messed up.
I hatte ho we left things. I hatte ho I hurt you.
I
need to talk to you.
He exhaled sharply.
Please just call me back.
I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the delete button. My heart was pounding, but I didn't know if it was from anger or something else. I didn't want him back.
I knew that.
But hearing his voice so familiar, so comfortable, it messed with me. I dropped my phone on the counter and let out a breath. Nikki was supposed to come over in a bit, and I wasn't about to let this ruin my night.
I shook off the feeling and went to pour myself a glass of wine, trying to push Jay out of my head.
But the problem with emotions is they don't just disappear because you tell them to. When I walked into Bae's apartment, something was off. I could feel it before she even said a word. She was sitting on the couch, swirling a glass of wine in her hand, looking stuck. I kicked off my shoes and sat next to her, tucking my legs under me.
What's wrong?
She hesitated, then sighed.
Jay Kellett.
My stomach clenched. And he left a voicemail. I already ain't like where this was going. And you listened to it? She nodded, looking down at her glass like it had the answers she needed. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. So let me guess, he sounded all sad, saying he miss you and wanna talk? Beyoncé's eyes snapped up to mine, her jaw tightening.
Nikki.
What? I threw my hands up. I'm just saying. It's the same shit every time. He cheat, he lie, he manipulate you, and then when he see you moving on, He wanna pop back up like he got amnesia. Bay sat up straighter. It's not that simple, Nikki. Not that simple? I scoffed. Bay, he broke you.
You were crying over this man, and now he cool and suddenly you sitting here all in your feelings.
Her nostrils flared.
I'm not in my feelings.
I gave her a look. Yes, the hell you are. I could feel myself getting defensive, but I couldn't help it. Nikki was acting like I was weak for feeling anything at all. Like I could just erase years of my life because she thought I should. I set my wine glass down, suddenly irritated.
You don't get it, you've never been in love like that.
Nikki's face changed so quick, I knew I had messed up before the words even finished coming out. She leaned back laughing, but there was no humor in it. Oh, word? So now I don't know shit about love. I sighed, already regretting it. Nikki, that's not what I meant. No, you meant exactly that. She stood up, shaking her head. So because I wasn't playing house with a rich manipulative-ass football player, my relationships don't count? That's not fair. What's not fair is you sittin' here actin' like Jay got some hold on you, when you know damn well he ain't good for you. She pointed at me. And what's really crazy? If I was the one still crying over Meek, you'd be tellin' me to get my shit together.
I crossed my arms.
That's different. How? Because it just was. Because Jay and I had built a life together. Because I had spent years thinking he was my forever. Because walking away from something like that wasn't as simple as turning off a switch. But I didn't know how to say all of that without sounding stupid.
Nikki shook her head. You know what? Du warte für you want.
Call him back, don't call him back, I don't give a fuck. I did care. That's what was pissing me off the most. I wasn't just mad because she listened to that damn voicemail. I was mad because I liked her. More than I was supposed to. And the thought of her still caught up on that dude made my chest tight. Beyoncé stared at me, her face unreadable. Why are you so mad right now? Because, bae. I threw my hands up. You deserve better, and you know that, but you still let him live in your head like he payin' rent. She frowned. I'm trying to move on. Well, try harder. We stood there, both breathing heavy, neither of us willing to back down. And then, just like that, her expression changed. The frustration drained from her face, leaving something else behind. She shook her head, looking almost sad.
You don't get it, Nikki.
I folded my arms. Then make me get it. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. After a few seconds, she just looked away. I think you should go. My heart dropped.
You for real.
She nodded, still not looking at me. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her she was being stupid, that she was letting Jay mess with her head again, that I wasn't the enemy here. But I could tell by the way she had shut down that I wasn't getting through to her tonight. So I grabbed my bag, sucked my teeth, and headed for the door.
Good luck with all that. I muttered before I walked out.
The second the door shut behind her, I let out a shaky breath. I didn't want her to leave. But I also didn't know what else to say. I wasn't still in love with Jay.
I kneset.
But Nikki didn't understand how hard it was to untangle myself from someone I had built a life with. It wasn't just about love, it was about habit, history, who I used to be. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe I was still holding onto an old version of myself. And maybe, just maybe, Nikki had every right to be mad. I sat there for a long time after Nikki left, just staring at the door. The apartment felt empty without her energy. The silence pressed against my ears, and I suddenly hated it. I picked up my glass of wine and took a sip, but it didn't taste the same anymore. My stomach was still tight, my emotions all over the place. I didn't like the way we ended that conversation. But at the same time, I didn't like how Nikki talked to me like my feelings weren't valid.
I seid robbing my temples.
Maybe I should have explained things better. Or maybe I was just being defensive. Either way, I wasn't about to call her back tonight. I needed space to think. After finishing my wine, I got up and went to my bedroom. I changed into my silk pajama set, but even that didn't bring me the usual comfort.
I lay down, staring at the ceiling, replaying our argument over and over.
Nikki wasn't wrong. That's what irritated me the most. She saw right through me, through my hesitations, my unresolved emotions. She knew I wasn't over the situation, even if I was over Jay. And she called me out for it. I rolled onto my side, gripping the pillow. I wasn't calling him back. I wasn't. But the fact that a part of me even hesitated, that's what made me feel like I failed myself.
I hatte this feeling.
I hated that she left mad at me. And I hated that I already missed her. I was pacing in my apartment, talking to Candy on speakerphone, heated as hell. Nah, like, tell me if I'm trippin', I said, waving my hands. I'm sitting here telling her the truth like, real talk, no sugarcoatin', and she gets all defensive and basically kicks me out. Candy sucked her teeth. So what you say exactly? I sighed. I told her Jay's playin' the same game he always do. That she deserve better, that she gotta stop lettin' him live in her head.
And tenche hit Emil wisse you don't know what love is bullshit.
Candy paused. Damn. Right. I huffed. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Just 'cause I wasn't tied up with some rich-ass, cheating-ass, narcissist don't mean I ain't been in love before. I mean.
Candy hesitated. You do Kinder shoot down when shit get real, Nick.
I frowned. The hell that mean? I'm just sayin', she said, all casual. You love hard, but you also run fast when it get complicated.
You ever ask yourself where YB's feelings about Jay bother you so much?
I stopped pacing, my jaw tightening. Man, what?
You heard me.
I opened my mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Candy always did this shit. She could cut through my bullshit in 2 seconds, and I hated it.
I exhaled, flopping down on my couch. Man, I don't know.
Candy smirked through the phone.
Yes, you Donnerstag.
I didn't say nothing. Because she was right. I didn't want to admit it, but seeing Bay all torn up over Jay made me feel some type of way. Like, I wanted her to be over him already. I wanted her to see what was right in front of her. And I hated that I cared this much. Look, Candy said. You and Bay been close as hell these past few weeks. You really think this fight is gonna change that? I sighed. I don't know, Candy. She basically told me to leave. And you ain't think that maybe she just needed a minute?
I chewed my lip, thinking.
Give her some space, Candy said.
Shall come around.
You're too damn close for this to be the end. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But something about tonight felt different. I just hoped I hadn't fucked everything up. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I barely slept. I tossed and turned all night, my mind running a mile a minute. By the time the sun peeked through my curtains, I knew I had to do something. I wasn't gonna call Jay. That was out. But I also wasn't about to let things sit weird between me and Nikki. I picked up my phone, hesitated for a second, then sent a text. Me, you up? A few minutes passed. Then.
Nikki funkelndes Herz. Yeah. I bit my lip. Emil, can we talk?
This time, she didn't answer right away. I stared at the screen, feeling more nervous than I should have. Finally, the dots appeared.
Nikki funkelndes Herz. Yeah.
Pull up.
I exhaled, relief wasing over me.
We still had things to figure out. But at least we weren't done. A few days later. Sitting in my car outside the little cafe Bay picked, I tapped my nails against the steering wheel, trying to figure out what the hell I was even gonna say. We'd already said a lot. Too much. Last night was messy as hell, both of us throwing words like we ain't care about each other's feelings. But if that was true, why the fuck was I here? I sighed, grabbing my purse off the passenger seat and stepping out. The air was cool, but I still felt hot. Maybe from the liquor, maybe from the way Bay's voice had been sitting in my head all night, replaying everything she said. I walked inside, eyes scanning the small cafe until I saw her. She was already sitting at a booth near the window, staring out like she was anywhere but here. Her posture was stiff, her fingers curled around the mug in front of her. She looked good though. a soft, oversized sweater hanging off one shoulder, her curls falling naturally, and those damn lips slightly parted like she was deep in thought.
I exhalet hard, trug my nose before making my way over.
Hey, I mumbled, sliding into the seat across from her. Her eyes flicked up to me, guarded. Hey.
Vi satt in silence for a moment.
The waitress came by, and I just ordered a water because my stomach was already tight. When she walked off, I leaned forward, resting my arms on the table.
So, wat vi doin hierbei?
I asked, getting straight to it. She sighed, shaking her head.
I don't know.
I scoffed.
Man, don't give a that. You call it me. You wanted to talk, so talk.
She met my eyes then, something flashing behind them. Nikki, you told me I was actin' just like Jay. Do you know how much that hurt? I clenched my jaw. I was mad. That's not an excuse, she shot back, her voice a little sharper now. You know how hard it was for me to leave him, how much I've been trying to heal from the way he manipulated me, and you threw it in my face like it was nothing.
I ran a hand down my face.
I shouldn't have said that. I know that. I looked at her seriously. But bae, you actin' like you ain't say some wild shit too. She swallowed, shifting in her seat. I didn't mean it. Neither did I admitted. But we both said it. And now we here, trying to figure out what the fuck we supposed to do with all these feelings. She blinked, her lips parting slightly.
Feelings.
I huffed, leaning back.
Yeah, Beyoncé.
Feelings. I don't fight like that with just anybody.
You got under my skin in AWZ. I shook my head.
I don't even know. But I ain't just trying to throw this shit away. Her face softened for a second, but she looked down at her mug, like she was scared to meet my eyes again. Nikki, I don't want to ruin what we have. I frowned.
Wat vi got now? Vi barely talken.
Shit already ruined if you ask me. She sighed, pressing her fingers against her temple like she was fighting a headache. I don't know what to do with this.
Do you feel so mating for me?
I asked, my voice quieter this time. She hesitated, but then, barely above a whisper, she said, yes. That one word settled something in my chest but also made it beat faster at the same time.
I nodded slowly.
Then we figure it out. She let out a deep breath like she'd been holding it in forever.
I'm scared.
I reached across the table, covering her hand with mine. She tensed for a second but didn't pull away. Me too, I admitted. But that don't mean we run from it. She finally looked up, her eyes searching mine. And for the first time since we sat down, I saw something real there.
So meeting wasn't truna hide animore.
Maybe we weren't ready to label this. Maybe we weren't ready for a damn thing. But we were here. And for now, that was enough. A few days later. I don't know why my heart is beating so fast right now. It's just lunch. Just Nikki and me grabbing Chipotle after she forced me to go with her to run errands all day. It's not a date. It's not supposed to feel this way. But it does. I can't stop noticing the little things. How she keeps brushing against me when we walk, the way she leans in close when she talks, how she keeps looking at me with that playful smirk like she knows something I don't. And maybe she does, because I have no idea what's happening between us, but it's been feeling different. A few days ago, we admitted we had feelings for each other, but we didn't do anything about it. And now, we're in this weird space where I feel like we're on the edge of something, but neither of us is saying it out loud. You already know what I'm gettin', Nikki says, pulling me out of my thoughts as we step up to the counter. I roll my eyes, but I'm smiling. How do I know?
You get so meeting different every time.
She tilts her head, giving me a look.
Beyoncé, don't play.
You know my order by now. I hate that she's right. I sigh dramatically, turning to the worker behind the glass. She'll have a bowl with brown rice, black beans, chicken, extra corn, the hot salsa, lettuce, sour cream and cheese, a side of queso and chips.
Nikki grins.
See?
My baby know me.
My stomach tightens at the words, but before I can even process why, a voice interrupts. Ayo ma, let me pay for that.
I turn my head to see some mantal, dressed in designer, fresh coat, big bright smile, standing a little too close to Nikki.
He's looking at her like she's a meal, completely ignoring my existence. Nikki glances at him, then at me. I got it, she says, brushing him off. He smirks. I mean, I know you got it, but I'm trying to treat you. A woman like you shouldn't have to pay for her own food. I feel my jaw tighten. I don't know why I'm irritated Nikki isn't mine. But something about the way he's looking at her, the way he's trying so hard to get her attention, makes my blood heat.
Nikki scoffs, grabbing her wallet.
That's cute, but I'm good. He chuckles, completely undeterred.
Damn, you curvin', am I like that?
At least let me get your number. I don't even think before I step closer to her, tilting my head at him. She's not interested. My voice is soft, but the edge is there. Nikki looks over at me surprised, but I don't break eye contact with him. He raises his hands in surrender.
My bad, my bad.
Just had to try. He steps away, finally taking the hint. Nikki is smirking when she looks at me.
You goodbye. I clear my throat, suddenly feeling stupid.
He was doing too much. She laughs, nudging me as we move down the line.
Look at you gettin', all protective. You jealous or something.
I give her a look.
No.
I am. But I don't say that. Instead, I order and pay for our food before she can argue about it, and we grab a booth near the window. For the first few minutes, we just eat, but the air between us is thick. I can tell she knows something's up, but she's waiting for me to say it. I don't. I keep my head down, focused on my bowl, even though I can feel her staring at me. Beyoncé, she finally says, dragging out my name like she always does when she's about to get on my nerves. I look up, trying to play dumb. What? She tilts her head, picking at her food. So, you gon' act like you wasn't about 2 seconds from cussing that dude back there? I roll my eyes, pushing a piece of chicken around with my fork. He was being disrespectful.
Nikki smirks.
He was just trying to shoot his shot. I scoff. And you wanted him to? Her smirk deepens, and she leans in on her elbow. Why? You care.
I hatte the way my body reacts to that. The way my heart chips a beat. The way I suddenly feel warm, like she's got some kind of power over me.
I hate that she's right. I do care.
I shake my head, forcing myself to keep it together. You're annoying.
Nikki laughs, but she doesn't push it. Instead, she starts talking about some ridiculous TikTok she saw earlier, and just like that, we fall back into our usual rhythm. For a while, everything feels normal. Or at least, as normal as things can feel between us right now. But then my phone buzzes. I glance down at the screen, and my breath catches in my throat. Lawyer, everything is finalized. You're officially divorced.
I starre at the message for a long moment, my mind blank.
It's done. I'm free. I should feel relieved. I should feel lighter. But instead my stomach twists, and I feel lost. Like I don't know what to do with myself now. Nikki notices my shift immediately.
What's wrong?
I hesitate, my fingers tightening around my phone. It's finalized. Her brows furrow for a second before realization washes over her face. Oh. She sits back, watching me carefully.
How you feel? I shake my head because I don't know.
I thought I'd feel different. Nikki nods, like she understands.
It's weird, who?
I let out a small breath of laughter, but it's not really funny. Yeah. She doesn't say anything for a moment. Then, she reaches across the table, her fingers brushing against mine. Look, I ain't gonna sit here and tell you how to feel, but I know you. And I know you did what you had to do. I glance up at her, my throat tight. She squeezes my hand gently.
You gon' be goodbye.
You already are.
I exhale, letting her words settle in.
For the first time all day, I actually believe them. I don't even know how we got here. 1 second, we were just chilling, talking about random shit, and the next, Beyoncé's looking at me with those big-ass eyes like she wanna say something but don't know how. We were at my apartment, sitting on the couch, some movie playing in the background that neither of us had been paying attention to. It was one of those nights where the conversation kept dipping into deeper shit, and I could feel something shifting between us. "I guess it's really over now," she murmurs, staring at her phone. Her lawyer had texted her earlier, letting her know everything was settled. She was officially divorced. Free. I watch her, the way she bites her lip like she's trying to hold something in.
I ain't never seen somebody so bad look so damn sad.
You good? I ask, nudging her knee with mine. She lets out a soft chuckle, but it don't reach her eyes. Yeah. I mean, I should be, right?
This is what I wanted.
I shift so I'm facing her more, draping my arm over the back of the couch. Wanting something and actually having it are two different things, B. She nods, playing with the hem of her shirt.
It just feels real now. Like, no more what ifs.
No more maybe he'll change. It's done. She swallows hard, still not looking at me.
And I wasted so much time, Nikki.
So many years.
I shake my head. Don't do that.
She finally looks at me, confused. Do what? Act like you wasted your time when really, you was just learning what you don't deserve.
I sit up, leaning forward a little.
You had to go through that bullshit to get to where you at now.
And where you at now?
That's the part that matters.
She exhales slowly, like she's letting it sink in.
I don't know how to be single. I've been with Jay for so long, I don't even know who I am outside of that relationship. I smirk, trying to lighten the mood.
You Beyoncé, bitch.
You own one of the baddest hair care brands out here, and you fine as hell you can have anyone you want. The hell you mean you don't know who you are? That gets a small laugh out of her, and I feel a little tension lift. But she still looks conflicted. It's not that simple, she whispers. I study her, the way her fingers keep fidgeting, the way her lip is tucked between her teeth again.
She's nervous.
But about what? Before I can ask, she looks at me, really looks at me, and the air between us shifts.
Nikki.
Her voice is so soft, almost hesitant, but there's something there, something in the way she's looking at me that makes my stomach tighten. Yeah. My voice drops too, matching her energy.
She swallows hard. Have you ever talked about us? I blink, caught off guard.
Us. She nods, her fingers playing with the ring she's not even wearing anymore. I mean, I don't know what this is, what we're doing. But sometimes, I catch myself thinking about you in a way I probably shouldn't. My heart damn near stops. I was just telling myself to keep shit cool, not to overthink, but now she done said it out loud. B. I start, but I don't even know what I'm about to say. I'm sorry, she rushes, shaking her head. I shouldn't have said anything.
Nah.
I stop her, reaching over to grab her hand before she can pull away.
Don't do that. Don't take it back.
Her eyes flick to mine, uncertain. I exhale, rubbing my thumb over the back of her hand. I been thinking about you too. She freezes, like she wasn't expecting that. You have.
I smirk a little.
Yeah. Probably more than I should.
The längste.
Then she shifts closer.
Just a little.
Just enough for me to notice. Her eyes drop to my lips for a second before snapping back up. My heart is beating out my chest, but I don't move. I want her to be sure. She hesitates for a second longer, like she's giving herself time to back out. Then, slowly, she leans in. Our lips meet softly at first, like we both trying to see if this is really happening. But the second I feel her sigh against my mouth, something shifts. I tilt my head, letting the kiss deepen just a little, and she responds, her breath catching like she's been holding it in. My hands find her waist, drawing her a little closer until there's barely any space left between us. Her warmth presses against me in a way that feels grounding. Not rushed, just real. Her fingers slide up my arms, then into my hair, gently curling there like she's afraid to let go.
The connection is tender, intense.
Not wild.
Not desperate. Just true.
I pull back slightly, enough to look into her eyes. Both of us are breathing heavier than we were before. Her lips are parted, eyes searching mine. We shouldn't be doing this, should we? she whispers, though there's no conviction in her voice. I smile softly, brushing my thumb along her cheek. Then why it feels so right? She doesn't answer. She just leans back in. This time, the kiss is slower, drawn out, like we're finally letting ourselves feel everything we've been dodging. Her hands rest gently on my shoulders, and for a second, it feels like we're the only two people in the world. But then she pulls away again, breathing steady but quiet.
Nikki. I rest my forehead against hers, still close.
Yeah. She hesitates, her fingers still gripping my shirt.
I don't wanna mess this up.
I nod, understanding exactly what she means.
Me either.
For a moment, we just sit there, close but not saying anything. Then she exhales and rests her head against my shoulder. We should take this slow, she whispers. I press a kiss to her temple, my grip on her waist tightening just a little. Aight. Slow. She lets out a small, content sigh, and I just hold her.
No rush, no pressure.
Just us.
Unterstrich 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 unter.
The drive to Nikki's apartment was quiet, but not uncomfortable. My hands rested in my lap, fingers toying with the fabric of my dress, trying to distract myself from the fact that I was about to be alone with her. Again. It had been happening a lot lately. Ever since our first kiss, the air between us had shifted. She hadn't brought it up, hadn't pressured me, but the way she looked at me now, it was different. And the way I felt? That was different too. I wanted to be close to her. Too close. Stop thinking so hard, bae, Nikki's voice cut through my thoughts. She threw me a smirk as she parked in front of her building. You got that nervous look again.
I'm not nervous, Elite, unbuckling my seatbelt.
She gave me a knowing look but let it slide. Inside, Nikki's apartment smelled like vanilla and something faintly sweet, like the candles she always burned. It was cozy, warm, her. She kicked off her shoes by the couch and plopped down, patting the space beside her. Come on, pick a movie. And not some boring-ass documentary. I need action, drama, or people getting killed. I laughed softly, settling beside her. So, nothing with a storyline? Exactly. I scrolled through the options, but my focus wasn't on the TV. Nikki was too close. Her thigh pressed against mine, her perfume filling my lungs. She shifted, her arm casually draping over the back of the couch, and I swear I felt her fingers graze my shoulder on purpose. She was playing with me, testing me, and it was working. I clicked on a random movie, not even paying attention to what it was. The opening credits rolled, but all I could feel was Nikki's body heat. The way my skin tingled every time she moved. I didn't know how much time passed before she spoke again, voice softer this time.
You keep beating your lip.
I blinked. What? Nikki turned toward me, her eyes locked on my mouth. You do that when you're nervous, too. I stopped because I had nothing to say. Because she was right. And because she was leaning in. Her face was inches from mine now, her eyes searching, waiting for me to pull away. But I didn't. I couldn't. My body moved before my mind could second-guess it. I closed the space between us, pressing my lips to hers. She kissed me back instantly, her hand moving to my waist, pulling me closer.
The movie was forgotten.
Everything was forgotten. It was just her, the way she felt, the way she held me like I was something precious. I let myself lean into the kiss more, my fingers sliding gently into her hair. She let out a soft breath, one that felt like a release. Like she'd been holding in how much she wanted this too. I could feel her hands resting on my waist, not rushed or rough, just steady. Sure. Her warmth melted into mine, and for a moment, it was all I could think about. There was no noise, no past, no fear.
Just os, and the way we fit together.
She rested her forehead against mine, breathing softly. I don't want to stop, she whispered. But I'm scared. I don't know if I'm ready just yet. My heart clenched, but I nodded, letting my hands slide gently to a more comfortable place.
We don't gotta do nothing, you ain't ready for, I murmuret.
I swear. She closed her eyes for a moment, calming her breath. Then slowly, she nodded. I kissed her again, this time softer, slower, like saying I'm here without words. I wasn't rushing anything. I was just holding her. And that was enough. The first thing I feel when I wake up is warmth. Not from the sun peeking through Nikki's curtains, not from the comfort of her bed, but from the fact that I can still feel her lips on mine. I don't move right away. My eyes stay closed as my fingers graze over my own lips, remembering the way hers felt against them. Soft. Slow. Almost hesitant at first, then surer, more certain. I can still hear the way she breathed out afterward, like she was surprised, like I was the one who did something to her.
My heart races all over again.
We kissed. Like really kissed.
I kissed Nikki. Nikki kissed me.
I feel a nervous flutter in my stomach as the memory fully sets in. I've kissed one person for the last decade, someone I thought I was going to spend forever with. And now, less than a month after my divorce was finalized, I'm waking up in another woman's bed, thinking about how bad I want to do it again. God.
I press my face into the pillow, groaning quietly.
What am I even supposed to do now? How do I act?
Do I bring it up?
Do we talk about it? Does she regret it? The sound of movement in the room makes my body freeze.
Damn, you still sleep.
Nikki's voice is groggy, amused, like she's been up for a while. I don't answer right away, and a second later, I feel the bed dip as she climbs in next to me.
And know where you still fucking, like you sleep.
I finally peek one eye open, and she's right there, smirking at me with her bonnet slightly lopsided. She's fresh-faced, bare-legged, in a tank top that looks way too good on her. Mornin', she hums, stretching her arms before collapsing onto her side dramatically.
You trüner sleepse de away or what? I sit up slowly, running a hand through my hair. What time is it? Almost noon.
Noon.
I blink, fully awake now.
Why didn't you wake me up?
Nikki shrugs, grinning.
You looked peaceful.
Plus, I ain't wanna deal with your lil attitude first thing in the morning.
I roll my eyes, but there's a smile pulling at my lips. Nikki's acting normal. She's making jokes, being playful like nothing happened last night. Like we didn't kiss. My stomach tightens. Maybe it wasn't that serious to her. Maybe she's already moved on from it. I force myself to nod and reach for my phone on the nightstand. No missed calls. A few messages from my assistant at Seekerd, but nothing urgent. I glance at Nikki, who's scrolling through her own phone now, completely unbothered.
Schuld I sei so meeting? Schuld I ask?
Nikki must sense me staring because she side-eyes me with a smirk. What?
I clear my throat.
Nothing. She narrows her eyes.
What's on your mind?
I hesitate, then shake my head quickly. Nothing. I should probably get up. I have some things to handle today. She hums, watching me a little too closely. You good?
I nod. Yeah, I'm good.
Nikki doesn't look convinced, but she doesn't push it. Instead, she nudges me with her knee. Aight well, hurry up and get dressed.
We gettin' food.
Food. Yeah da.
You know you hungry.
I hesitate, but honestly.
I am hungry. I exhale, pushing back the lingering nervous and nod.
Okay.
Nikki grins.
Good.
Get up, Lazzi.
We end up at some small restaurant downtown, sitting in a booth by the window. Nikki's been rambling about something funny that happened at work, and for the most part, I've been listening. But my mind is still in a million places.
You still overthinken. I look up, startled.
Ha. Nikki gives me a knowing look, sipping her lemonade.
Bye, you been quiet as hell.
What's up? I bite my lip, debating. Then, before I can stop myself, I say it.
Last night.
Nikki's brows lift slightly. She leans back in her seat, watching me carefully.
What about it?
I feel my pulse jump, but I don't back down. The kiss.
Nikki doesn't look away.
She doesn't try to change the subject or laugh it off. Instead, she just tilts her head slightly.
You regret it.
No, I answer too quickly, and my cheeks heat. No, I don't know. I don't really know what it was. Nikki studies me, and for the first time all day, the playfulness in her eyes dims. She leans forward slightly, resting her arms on the table. It was what it was, bae. It ain't gotta be complicated unless we make it complicated.
I frowns lichtly.
What does that mean?
Nikki sighs, running a hand down her face before looking at Emil again. It means I like you.
I been liked you.
And last night?
That wasn't no accident. My stomach flips. Nikki watches me closely, and when I don't say anything right away, she shakes her head with a smirk.
You so damn scare.
I am not.
Yes, you are.
She leans closer, dropping her voice slightly. You wanna overthink this so bad instead of just feeling it.
I open my mood, ten close it.
Because she's right.
I do overthink. I do hesitate.
But not because I don't want this, I'm just scared to. Nikki sees the conflict in my face, and for the first time since we sat down, she softens.
Look, we don't gotta rush. We ain't gotta put no label on nothing.
But don't act like you don't want this.
I swallow tickly, my heart hammering. I do feel it.
I just don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to be this new version of myself, someone who isn't Jay's wife, who isn't constantly worried about being perfect. Someone who wants something for herself.
Someone who wants Nikki.
Nikki doesn't pressure me for an answer. She just sits there waiting, letting me figure it out on my own. And somehow, that makes me want her even more. She hesitates, her fingers still gripping my shirt.
I don't wanna mess this up.
I nod, understanding exactly what she means. Me either. For a moment, we just sit there, close but not saying anything. Then she exhales and rests her head against my shoulder. We should take this slow, she whispers. I press a kiss to her temple, my grip on her waist tightening just a little. Slow. She lets out a small, content sigh, and I just hold her.
No rush, no pressure.
Just us. The drive to Nikki's apartment was quiet, but not uncomfortable. My hands rested in my lap, fingers toying with the fabric of my dress, trying to distract myself from the fact that I was about to be alone with her. Again. It had been happening a lot lately. Ever since our first kiss, the air between us had shifted. She hadn't brought it up, hadn't pressured me, but the way she looked at me now, it was different. And the way I felt? That was different too. I wanted to be close to her. Too close. Stop thinking so hard, bae, Nikki's voice cut through my thoughts. She smirked as she parked in front of her building. You got that nervous look again.
I'm not nervous, Elite.
She gave me a knowing look but let it slide. Inside, her apartment smelled like vanilla and something faintly sweet. It was cozy. Hers. She kicked off her shoes and dropped onto the couch. Come on, pick a movie. And not some boring documentary. I need action, drama, or explosions. I laughed and joined her. We scrolled for a bit but neither of us was paying much attention. She was too close, and my heart wouldn't calm down. Can I ask you something? She said quietly, not looking away from the screen. I turned to her. Of course.
WHYD invite ML over nicht.
I paused, caught off guard. Because I wanted to see you. Her brows lifted slightly. Just that. And maybe because I feel like I can be myself around you. She smiled softly.
I feel safe with you. My heart shipped.
You are safe, I whispered.
With me, always.
Then came the silence, the kind that feels charged. She leaned in slowly, and I met her halfway. We kissed again, soft and warm, like we were speaking a language neither of us had used in a long time. Her hand touched my cheek, I leaned into her. When we pulled away, we were both breathless. You okay? I asked. She nodded, her eyes shining.
Yeah, you.
I smiled. More than okay. We moved to the bedroom, not out of impulse, but comfort. I handed her a clean shirt and offered the shower. She took it. When she came back, her hair tied up, shirt hanging loose, She looked so soft, so real. I showered too, changed, and slid into bed beside her. The lights were low. We lay facing each other.
You tired.
I whispered. She shook her head.
Just thinking. Boot wat?
She glanced down, then back up. Us. I held her gaze. You think we rushed?
She shook her head again. No.
Just, surprised I'm here.
Emil to, Isaid, voice low.
But I'm glad as hell I am. She reached for my hand, laced our fingers together. It was innocent, but it made my chest tighten.
Nikki. She murmured. Can he kiss you again?
I nodded. And this time, the kiss was slower, deeper. Not urgent. Not rushed.
Just full of unspoken things.
We stayed like that for a while. Close, warm, completely present. There was no need to say more. She stirs a little, letting out a soft hum that makes my stomach flip. Her eyes flutter open, and when she sees me, she smiles. Sleepy, radiant, and all mine. Mornin', she mumbles, voice raspy from sleep. Mornin', baby, I say back, brushing a curl off her forehead.
You sleep good.
Best I have in a minute, she admits, stretching, her body brushing against mine in a way that makes my pulse kick. You. Like a baby, I laugh, leaning down to kiss her slow. She melts into it, her hand sliding up my back. We stay like that for a while, kissing soft and warm, hands tracing each other gently like we're still savoring what we shared. You're so damn pretty in the morning, I whisper, thumb brushing along her jaw. She giggles, burying her face in my neck.
Stop, you're gonna make Emil blush. To late, I tease.
Look at you. All shy now after acting bold last night. She smacks my arm lightly. Nikki.
You're a mess. And you laugh it, I grin.
Had you saying my name like it was the only word you knew. She bites her lip, that familiar spark in her eyes.
Still feeling you, even now.
I kiss her again, hands resting at her waist. We get lost in each other all over again. Soft, slow, no rush. Just closeness.
Here breathe hitches, fingers curling at my shoulders.
Every kiss says things we're still too scared to speak. Later, we lie tangled in the sheets, catching our breath.
You okay, love?
I ask, brushing back her hair.
Perfect, she murmurs, curled into me. Let me get you some water.
I clean us both up gently, not rushed, like tending to something precious. When I come back, she's soft and glowing, sipping slowly as I tuck her into me.
You need a nutting Else.
I ask.
She just smiles sleepily.
Just you. You got me, I say, kissing her temple.
Forever, if you want it.
She nods.
I Donnerstag.
I pull her close. No more words needed. A week later. It's wild how much can change in a week. Bay's been over every night. At this point, half her stuff is at my place. Her bonnet on my nightstand, her skincare in my bathroom, her clothes in my closet, and her walking around in my tees like she owns the place. And honestly, I love it. It's peaceful. Easy. Like I never knew how good it felt to come home to someone who brings you calm. We wake up next to each other like we've always done it. She cooks sometimes. I order food most nights, and even when it's burnt, she says it's cute how I try. We laugh.
Talk about everything. Dreams, fears, life.
And yeah, what we share physically. It's tender, passionate, and filled with real care. She makes me feel seen, and I try to do the same. But tonight, I want to make it official. I want her to be mine.
Not just staying, over. Not just holding hands in secret.
I want the world, or at least my close friends, to know she's mine. So I made dinner reservations at this cozy spot downtown she once mentioned. Spent the day picking out an outfit. Black fitted dress, hair curled, lips glossed. She came out in this red dress that nearly made me forget how to breathe. Damn, I said, stunned.
You trying to make me propose or what? She laughed, kissed me soft. You look beautiful, Nick.
Dinner was perfect. We talked, we laughed, and I kept glancing at my phone, waiting for the moment. Then the waiter came out with dessert. Cheesecake for her, lava cake for me. On the plate, written in chocolate drizzle.
Will you be my girlfriend?
Her eyes went wide. Then glossy.
Bye.
I know we're still figuring things out, but these months, and especially this last week, have meant everything.
Juve meant everything.
I love how you move, how you love, how you trust me even when it's hard. I'm falling for you, and I don't want to keep pretending like this isn't real. She didn't say a word at first, just laughed softly through tears, then walked around the table and sat on my lap. Yes, she whispered, kissing me slow.
Yes, Nikki. I'm yours.
The whole ride home, we couldn't stop holding hands. Couldn't stop smiling. And yeah, that night was ours too, but it wasn't just about touch. It was about being chosen.
Wanted. Lovet out loud.
I had one hand on the wheel, one on her thigh, and she kept leaning over, kissing my neck, my cheek, whispering all the ways she was gonna thank me when we got home. I damn near sped the whole way. As soon as we walked in the door, I turned around and pulled her into a kiss, deep and slow. Her arms wrapped around my neck, like she couldn't get close enough. We stumbled toward the bedroom, laughing, kissing. Her heels hitting the floor, my dress already halfway unzipped. I love you, she whispered against my mouth as we fell onto the bed. I love you more, I murmured, helping her slip out of her dress with care. The rest of the night was soft, unhurried, full of quiet tenderness. We didn't rush. We took our time, touched like it was the first time all over again. She told me how beautiful I was, how safe she felt, how much she adored me. I showed her in every touch, every kiss, every breath. Not just desire but comfort, trust and love. We didn't sleep until sunlight started peeking through the blinds. And even then, I didn't want to let go. Because for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. I don't know what time it is when I open my eyes, but I know exactly where I am, and more importantly who I'm with. Nikki's arms are around my waist, her legs slung across mine, her face buried in my neck like she belongs there. And maybe she does. Maybe I want her to. It's only been a week since she asked me to be her girlfriend, but it feels like we've been headed toward this for months. I think about that night all the time. Her voice trembling a little, telling me how beautiful I was, how much she loved me. That little dessert plate with "Will you be my girlfriend?" written in chocolate. I damn near cried into my creme brulee. No one's ever made me feel so chosen. So seen. I rub her back lightly. She hums in her sleep, snuggling closer. There's so much peace in her presence. My heart feels full, not anxious or cracked open like it used to be.
Just, steady.
Eventually, I slip out of bed without waking her and tiptoe into the kitchen. I make us both coffee, grab my laptop, and just start browsing. Not for anything in particular, just looking for something. Something I can do to show her what she means to me. After a bit of searching, I find it. A private villa in Turks and Caicos.
Ocean view. Personalchef.
Outdoor tub. Quiet. Peaceful. Just us. I book it before I can second guess. The confirmation email comes in, and I sit back, grinning at the screen. I can already see her face when I tell her. She's gonna act up, squeal, laugh, maybe even hop on me, and I'll let her. Because she deserves joy. Nikki stumbles out of the bedroom not long after, in one of my big t-shirts, rubbing her eyes like a sleepy kid. You left me, she mumbles, climbing into my lap. I made you coffee, I say, kissing her cheek. She takes the cup, sips slow. You trying to get tackled with love or something? I laugh, wrapping my arms around her. Maybe. But first let's handle our morning routine. After we freshen up, we curl back into bed, tangled up again like it's our favorite place to be. She talks about her students at school, how Candy and Lauren keep trying to double date with randoms, and I just listen, smiling. I don't tell her about the trip yet. I'm saving it. Maybe after dinner. But as she kisses me and tugs my bottom lip with her teeth, I remember exactly why I booked it.
Because I love her.
Because she deserves the world. And I want to give it to her. I'd been sitting on this surprise for days, quietly planning the trip while Nikki moved through life being her usual chaotic, beautiful self. Being with her made me feel like I could finally breathe. She was asleep on the couch, bonnet half off, mouth slightly open, wrapped in her favorite pink blanket. I didn't want to wake her, but I couldn't wait anymore. I knelt down beside her and whispered, "Nikki." Huh? She stirred.
WHY waking ML up?
I was dreamin' about oxtails. I giggled.
I got so meten, to tell you. She sat up slowly. It better be good.
That dream was flavorful.
I'm taking you somewhere.
A vacation. Her eyes popped open. A what?
A Vakation. Turks and Caicos.
I booked it already.
You serious?
Dead serious, I smiled.
You deserve it. She blinked, lips parting.
Bae. Nobody's ever done something like that for me. I know, I said, taking her hand. But it's your turn now. Her eyes welled up, and she leaned into me hard, hugging me tight. Okay, she sniffed, pulling back. But if we're going on vacation, I need new outfits. I grinned. Already planned. We're going shopping today. My treat. Nikki gasped.
Don't play with me, Beyoncé.
I'm not.
Come on, let's get ready.
Sex with Nikki was an experience. She twirled in mirrors, called strangers cousin, and asked them to rate dresses, made the whole store laugh. I watched her the whole time, loud, proud, and so full of life.
Beyoncé Giselle Knowles. She called out, holding a hot pink sundress.
Is this too much for vacation, or am I about to cause a heatwave?
I tilted my head.
The girls are always sittin' pretty. She giggled and dashed off to try it on. While she was in the fitting room, I handed over my card like it was nothing. Nikki had never been poured into like this, and it showed. She hesitated every time I offered, but I meant it. She didn't have to carry everything alone anymore. She stepped out in the dress, heels on, hair up, glowing.
Dame, I whispered.
She looked in the mirror, smiling.
I look good, who?
I stepped behind her, arms wrapping around her waist.
You look like somebody's wife.
She smirked.
You tryna tell me so meeting.
Maybe. We left with way too many bags, smoothies in hand, and sunshine on our faces. She looked over at me, eyes soft. I mean it, bae. Thank you.
For all of this.
I'm not used to being taken care of, but it feels good. Really good. You don't gotta thank me, I said, brushing her hair behind her ear.
I love you. I wanna take care of you the way you deserve.
She leaned into me, resting her head on my shoulder. I love you too, bae. So much it's kinda scary. I wrapped my arm around her and kissed the top of her head. Me too. That night, after we packed, Nikki lit a candle and put on some slow music while we laid in bed. The soft glow of the lamp hit her skin just right, making her look like a dream. I traced circles on her thigh as she played in my curls. Can't believe we really going away together, she whispered. Me either. But it feels right. She leaned in and kissed me slow, deep. The kind of kiss that told me everything she didn't have the words for. And when our bodies moved together later, it wasn't just sex. It was something sacred. Soft moans.
Tender hands.
Gasps shared in the dark like secrets. Every kiss, every touch, was layered with all the love we hadn't been able to say out loud before. I held her like I never wanted to let go, and she held me like she finally found her peace. It wasn't just a vacation. It was the beginning of something real. Ain't nothing like the feeling of waking up with no alarm, no stress, and no responsibilities, not even my bonnet. I was laid across a soft white villa bed, wrapped in Egyptian cotton sheets and Beyoncé's arms, with the warm breeze from the open balcony sliding across my legs. I blinked a few times, letting it all sink in again.
Turks and Caicos.
Bae really flew us out here for a surprise getaway. I had never been treated like this in my life, and I was still trying to process it. Her fingers lightly rubbed my hip as I turned over to face her. Her eyes were still closed, mouth slightly parted, and baby. She looked like a damn angel.
Good morning, fine as I whispered.
She smiled without even opening her eyes.
Good morning, beautiful.
Her voice was groggy, low, and sexy as hell. I giggled, burying my face in her neck.
This still feel like a dream, B.
She opened her eyes now, soft and honey brown as ever, looking at me like I was her whole world.
It's not. You're here.
I'm here. And I plan on spoiling you every day while we are. I kissed her collarbone and sat up, stretching with a loud yawn.
I'm trüner be outside today. Beach.
Food. Drinks. Vibes. Beyoncé sat up behind me, wrapping her arms around my waist.
Warte für you want, baby.
This trip is for us. I ain't even gon' lie, I was falling for her deeper every day. From the way she looked at me, to how she anticipated my needs, to the way she respected me. Shit was real. After a quick shower and getting dressed, we stepped out onto the private villa beach. I had on this lil two-piece cover-up and an orange bikini underneath. Beyoncé kept staring like I was the sun itself.
You just gonna keep looking at me like that?
I asked, sipping my mimosa. I can't help it, she said with a soft smile. You're breathtaking. Bey looked good as hell herself. This white swimsuit with her curves. I was ready to start something right there on that beach. We lounged under an umbrella, toes in the sand, sipping drinks, and sharing a fruit platter. Every now and then, Bey would lean over to feed me a piece of pineapple or kiss my shoulder. I could feel eyes on us, but I didn't care.
Let's in Luki.
She was mine. Let's get in the water, I said, jumping up and grabbing her hand. We waded into the waves, laughing and splashing each other like two teenagers. When I wrapped my arms around her neck, the water up to our waists, she pulled me close, her forehead against mine. I've never been this happy before, she whispered. Me either, I admitted, brushing my fingers through her curls.
She kissed me.
Slow.
Deep.
Right there in the middle of the ocean, and it felt like the world disappeared. Later that night, we went back to the suite, sun-kissed and tipsy. We ordered room service lobster pasta and grilled veggies, ate in our robes with wine on the balcony, watching the stars. I still can't believe you did all this for me, I said, wiping sauce off the corner of my mouth. Beyoncé reached across the table and held my hand.
You deserve everything.
I mean that. I swallowed a lump in my throat. Nobody had ever poured into me like this. I was used to being the strong one, the provider. But with her, I could relax. After dinner, we curled up on the balcony couch, the ocean waves crashing softly in the background. She laid her head on my chest, and I wrapped my arm around her shoulder. You ever think about the future? I asked, playing in her hair.
All the time, she murmured.
Especially with you. I kissed her temple. That's crazy, 'cause I've been doing the same. She looked up at me, eyes shining, full of something deep I couldn't quite name yet.
We got so meeting real, Nikki. I know, baby, I whispered, kissing her.
And we stayed like that, tangled up in love, under the stars. Waking up the next morning was like rolling into a dream, part 2. I was sore in all the right ways, thank you Beyoncé, but more than anything, I felt full. Like something in me had been poured into and then wrapped up again with care. The sun peeked through the curtains, painting her skin gold as she stirred beside me. She caught me staring and smirked, that dangerous little glint in her eye lighting something wild inside me. Morning baby, she purred, rolling over and settling against me with a kiss that started sweet and turned heated fast. My hands slid instinctively to her waist, but then she pulled back, a mischievous spark dancing across her expression. I got a surprise for you, she whispered. Before I could ask, she reached under the bed and pulled out a sleek black box I hadn't seen before. My brows raised, curiosity already taking over. She opened the lid slowly, revealing a collection of options. I blinked, laughing softly as I realized what she'd planned.
You serious?
Oh, I'm very serious, she said, leaning in close, her breath warm against my ear.
Only if you trust me.
And I did. With everything. What followed wasn't wild or rushed. It was slow. Intentional.
A dance between trust and tenderness.
Beyoncé knew exactly how to touch me. Not just my body, but every part of me I kept guarded. She whispered promises against my skin, kissed me like I was sacred, and made me feel like I was the only person on earth that mattered in that moment. It wasn't just about thrill, it was about connection. About letting go in the safety of someone's arms. Her arms. When we finally collapsed, tangled in the sheets and each other, we were both breathless, not just from passion, but from being so deeply seen. I looked over at her, cheeks flushed, curls wild, and grinned.
You're so meeting, Else.
She brushed her thumb across my jaw.
Only for you, baby.
By the time we collapsed, tangled up and breathless, the room was spinning. My heart was pounding, my body was spent, and all I could think was, damn, I'm in love with a freak. We spent the next few days exploring the island. Jet skiing, snorkeling, dancing barefoot in the sand at one of the beach bars. Bay and I couldn't keep our hands off each other, and honestly, I didn't want to. One afternoon, we found this little local shop that sold handmade jewelry and beachwear. I picked up a gold anklet and slid it on.
You like it?
I asked, glancing at her. She smiled. I love it. It looks perfect on you. She bought it for me, along with a bracelet that had a tiny bee charm on it. So you always got a piece of me, she said. We kept walking through the market hand in hand, and I caught her looking at me in that way again.
What?
I said, grinning.
By shrugged, cheeks turning pink.
Nothing. I love seeing you this happy. And I was. I hadn't smiled this much in years. That night, we had dinner at a fancy cliffside restaurant.
Candles, Oceanbreze, soft jazz.
Bay wore this satin dress that made me forget how to breathe.
Halfweg trug ze mil, I kaukt her staring at Emil again.
But this time it felt different. There was something in her eyes.
What's on your mind, B?
I asked, nudging her foot under the table. She smiled, a little nervously. Just, how lucky I am.
I tilted my head. Bye, you good.
She reached across the table and laced her fingers with mine. Yeah, more than good. I just realized something while we've been out here.
What's that?
She opened her mouth to answer, but then hesitated.
I'll tell you soon.
Just know. This trip was important for me too. Something in my chest flipped. I couldn't explain it, but it felt like she was holding onto something bigger. That night, when we got back to the villa, she drew me a bubble bath, poured us wine, and we talked for hours in the tub.
About childhood, dreams, fears, everything.
Then we made love. Slowly. Like we had all the time in the world. As she laid on my chest after, tracing her fingers down my arm, I felt it. This was it. She was my person. And I could feel her thinking the same exact thing.
The stars look different here. Tee shimmer brichter.
Closer. Like if I reached up far enough, I could grab one and place it on her skin. Maybe behind her ear or in the dip of her collarbone, just to make the glow I already see in her feel permanent. Nikki's asleep on my chest. Her breath is soft, her lashes long against her cheeks. We're wrapped in a thin throw blanket, curled up on the balcony of our villa, the ocean humming below us like it knows our secrets. She refused to go inside. Said the night was too perfect. So now we're here, tangled together under a velvet sky, warm from sun and love and too much laughter. I've had a lot of moments in my life that felt like dreams. But nothing ever felt like this. Today felt like God pressed pause on the chaos and gave us a day just for us. We didn't rush. We didn't think. We just were. We woke up slow, fingers and lips and skin before words. She kissed me like she had nowhere to be for the rest of her life, and I let her.
We walked on the beach.
She bought matching shell bracelets from a little boy selling them by the shore. We rode jet skis, and she screamed the whole time, arms around me, begging me not to flip us over. She danced for me in the sand, wild and free, eyes full of mischief, like she was daring me to fall harder. And I did.
I'm still falling.
Being with her feels like music. Like poetry.
Like a song I forgot I knese words to but still hum in my sleep.
And somehow, she loves me too. I tilt my head and look down at her, brushing a stray curl from her cheek. Her lips are parted slightly. I can feel the rise and fall of her chest against mine. She smells like coconut oil and sea breeze. Her leg is thrown across my waist like it belongs there. And maybe it does. Maybe she does. It hits me, Right there in the stillness, this undeniable, overwhelming truth I can't unfeel. She is my person. Not just for now. Not just while things are good. Not just for vacation or fun or escape. Forever. The kind of love that makes you believe in soulmates.
The kind of love you fight for.
I close my eyes for a second, let the warmth of her soak into me, and picture it. A white dress, her smile, my mom holding back tears, Candy and Lauren screaming when they see the ring. I see her walking toward me barefoot in the sand, wind blowing through her hair, and the look in her eyes saying finally, I want that. I want forever with her. I want to wake up to her messy bun and attitude, to the way she fake pouts when she doesn't get her way, to the way she looks at me when she's trying not to cry but her voice cracks anyway. I want holidays and anniversaries and lazy Sundays. I want her in every chapter of my life from here on out. I want to marry her. Not because I need to make a statement. Not because it's the next logical step. But because I love her in a way I've never loved anyone. In a way that makes everything else feel small. Temporary. She shifts slightly and lets out a sleepy little hum, pressing her lips against the base of my neck without even waking up. I smile to myself and press a soft kiss to the top of her head.
You have no idea, I whisper.
But she will. I've already made up my mind. I'm going to ask her to be my wife. And it's going to be beautiful. Because she deserves beautiful things. And loving her is the most beautiful thing I've ever done. 4 years. I used to think 4 years was a long time. Now it feels like it flew by in the blink of an eye. 1 minute I was crying in the car outside of my apartment, trying to find the strength to leave a man who never truly saw me, and the next, I'm waking up every morning beside a woman who makes me feel like the most beautiful soul on earth.
Nikki. My fiancé.
Well, soon to be. We've built a life together that feels so solid, so sacred, it's hard to remember what it felt like before her.
Wie live toget now.
Her laugh echoes through every corner of our house. Her heels line the entryway. Her lip glosses somehow end up in every room. And I wouldn't trade a second of it. Our families know. They support us, love us. Her mama sends me sweet texts every few days checking in on me like I've been one of her own all along. My mama is obsessed with her. Swears she's the one I was always meant to be with. She's right. Since I left Jay, life has been a whirlwind, but in all the right ways. I launched Sir Davis, my whiskey brand, a year ago. It's been growing beautifully, crafted, intentional, Black-owned and women-led. The kind of legacy I always dreamed of but never thought I'd see for myself.
Nikki, my baby?
She's no longer teaching. She still loves kids, still keeps in touch with some of her former students, but her dream changed. Barb's Beauty was born 2 years ago, and baby, she took off. I'm talking front-of-the-line Sephora placements, viral TikToks, press features everywhere. Seeing her be the boss she is, owning rooms and making deals, lights something in me I didn't even know needed to be lit.
And now, here we are.
We're building our dream house together brick by brick, room by room. It sits just outside Los Angeles on a quiet piece of land surrounded by trees, with enough space for kids to run wild when the time comes. We talk about it often, babies. We don't have any yet, but we've started thinking more seriously about it.
Nikki, wannst du, my besrie?
I told her I'll support whatever her heart wants. We're looking into donors, exploring options, taking our time. But just knowing we're in a place to build a family makes everything feel even more real.
And now, tu nicht, it's time.
I've been planning this proposal for months. I wanted something intimate, something that felt like us.
Zoe kellet in the big ganz Mama Tina und Mama Carol.
Between them, Lauren and Candy, we've pulled together something beautiful.
Vire in Turks and Caicos, again. Full circle.
This was where I first started to realize that I didn't just love Nikki, I wanted to build a future with her. That vacation changed everything for us. So I thought it was only right to come back here for this. She thinks it's just a quick trip. I've been playing it off cool all day. But in a few minutes, I'm gonna walk her down a sandy path lined with lanterns and flower petals, straight to a candlelit beach setup with a private chef and a little wooden sign that reads, "Will you marry me, Annika Tonja marriage?"
I'm not nervous.
I'm ready. She's in the bathroom now, fluffing her curls, fixing her lip liner, doing that thing where she mumbles to herself while she gets dressed. I peek in on her and smile. She's wearing this soft pink dress that hugs her hips just right, and she's glowing. Like, really glowing.
You good? She calls out, catching Emil staring.
I'm perfect, I smile, walking up behind her and wrapping my arms around her waist, pressing a kiss to her shoulder.
You ready?
Been ready, she smirks.
I'm hungry, babe.
I take her hand, lead her out the villa. The sun's just starting to set, that orange-pink glow dipping below the horizon, casting everything in magic. She's laughing and talking the whole walk down the beach, kicking off her heels when we hit the sand, until we turn the bend and she sees it.
The lights. The roses. The candles. She freezes.
Bae? Her voice softens.
I squeeze her hand. Come here, baby. I guide her down the path.
The setup is everything I imagine: soft music playing in the background, ocean waves crashing gently, and the words lit up on the sand in gold script.
She gasps.
Her hand covers her mouth.
I get down on one knee. Nikki, I start, feeling my heart thump in my chest.
4 years ago, you changed my life. You made me feel loved, seen, held, and free all at the same time. I didn't think I'd ever have this. A forever that feels soft, safe, and real. Tears fall from her eyes, and I can feel mine building too.
I love you with everything in me.
I've loved you since you sat next to me at that nail salon with your little attitude and your big heart. And I'll keep loving you for the rest of our lives.
I pull out the ring box and open it. Onika Tanya Marai, will you marry Emil, baby?
She drops to her knees with me, crying, laughing, nodding all at once.
Yes. Yes, bae, fuck yes.
I slide the ring on her finger, and she wraps her arms around me, kissing me through tears and giggles. We just stay like that for a moment, holding each other, letting the ocean and the candles and the joy wrap around us like a blanket. Later that night, back in the villa, we lay in bed facing each other, fingers intertwined, the ring glistening in the moonlight. I can't believe you did all this, she whispers.
I did do it 2,000 times over, Isai. You re it for me, Nikki.
You always have been. She smiles.
I can't wait to be your wife.
And just like that, everything I ever dreamed of is finally mine. 5 years later. You ever just sit back and think about how your life flipped in the best way possible?
That's me. Right now.
Laying in this soft-ass cloud of a bed in our dream home, rubbing my belly while I watch our daughter Tonya curled up between me and Bae. She looks just like her. Same full lips, same little nose, even got that deep little dimple in her cheek. And her hair?
Thick, soft curls all over the damn place.
She's our baby through and through.
Mine and Beyoncé's.
Never thought I'd be saying that.
Mine and Beyoncé's. But here we are.
And baby number 2. Cooking. Right in my belly. I let out a soft sigh, fingers gliding over the slight bump starting to push through my Versace robe. I swear this baby gon' be a dancer or something, I mumble to myself, feeling the light flutters. Already moving like they got somewhere to be. Beyoncé turned over, eyes still closed, but she reached out and rested her hand over mine. That's 'cause they are Sagittarius, like you.
Full of fire.
I smiled, leaned over and kissed her temple.
You love it. I Donnerstag.
Everything about our life now just feels settled, peaceful. Like I finally exhaled after holding my breath for years.
Ain't no chaos.
Ain't no struggling. We worked for this peace, and it's soft, it's warm, and it's real.
I remember the day everything changed.
The day we said, I do. It was golden hour. The sun was kissing the ocean like it missed it all day, and the waves were whispering secrets only lovers understood. Beyoncé stood at the end of the floral aisle, barefoot in the sand, her gown flowing like water around her. I was in this custom blush gown, fitted just right. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't shaking.
I was steady.
Certain. When I reached her, she grabbed my hands and looked at me like the whole world paused just to give us this moment. You look like forever, she whispered. I damn near cried right there. Our vows?
Not written. Just spoken. Raw and real.
I told her how I used to pray for peace. Not just a person, but someone who made me feel safe, understood, and soft again. And that's who she is.
The kiss? Phew. Let's just say, if you were tere, you'd believe in love again. And the honeymoon?
Italy.
Private villa on the coast.
Days of sun, wine, and food. Nights of skin on skin, laughter, and moans echoing off marble walls. I lost count how many times she had me screaming her name in that damn tub overlooking the water.
Wie broke the bed once.
Maybe twice. We had sex literally all over that villa. We left a generous tip for the maid, poor thing. I smiled to myself, stretching a little. Hey, I said quietly, looking at Bay. Remember Italy? She cracked one eye open and smirked.
How could I forget?
You couldn't even walk straight the last 2 days.
I chuckled. Girl, shoot up.
You the one who was crying in the tub talking 'bout, I never felt this close to nobody before. That was after you.
Art.
My daughter is right here. We both laughed quietly so we wouldn't wake the baby. I watched Beyoncé stare at our little girl and then at me with so much love, it almost made me tear up. That look still hit like it did when we first fell. Our daughter started to stir, her little fist rubbing her eye. She blinked up at us and mumbled, "Mama. Mommy." Beyoncé kissed her cheek.
Good morning, baby.
I leaned down and kissed her forehead.
You hungry?
She nodded. Well, come on then, lil greedy, I teased, scooping her up and carrying her toward the kitchen. Beyoncé followed behind me, already pulling out the fruit and pancake mix. We moved like a team. No words needed. She cooked, I cut the strawberries. Our daughter babbled on about her dreams, something about a pink dolphin and a rainbow car.
Once we sat down to eat, Beyoncé leaned over and tuched my teak under the table. I love our life.
I met her eyes and smiled, hand resting on my belly. Me too. After breakfast, I curled up on the couch with my girls. Our daughter snuggled up on my chest, and Beyoncé laid behind me, arm draped around my waist, hand flat on my stomach. This right here?
This is my forever.
And I wouldn't trade it for anything.